can't find me. You may never wanna find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Hey, I like the transition on that one. That was actually smoother than last night. How you doing, guys? It is Tuesday night. We are back here for episode 26 of the Barroom Podcast. As you see, the beanies have taken over. Everyone except for the two squares on the bottom, I guess like right and left, are the only two who are not wearing beanies here tonight. But yeah, everyone else here. Everyone else has joined the cult, and hopefully you guys have joined it here at home as well. Go ahead and give a quick shout out to everyone who's in the chat before I give an introduction to our guests here tonight. We have Spencer, who's pretty sure editing articles right now, abounding in the comics. Johnson, who's in the chat. We got Cassie's in the chat too. I wonder why she's not on the show. And then we have Neo, who is also saying hello. And then, of course, our good buddy Duke Nukem, who is here. That's everyone who's in the chat tonight. But then, of course, we have our lovely people who are joining us tonight. We have Miss C.S. Johnson with new beanie, new merch on the helm today. How you doing tonight?
Good. I thought this was appropriate to tell everybody that I'm voting for Kanye in 2020.
No, I mean 2022, right?
Or 2024.
I mean 2024, yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That's about all the finesse I expected with that.
Yeah, calendars are hard. Who can read those, right?
It's technically part of math, so yeah.
Yeah. That's in the guy who started this whole beanie cult, our good buddy Orange Hat Reviews, who is here tonight. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Can't wait to get to these discussions. I'm looking forward to this one.
Mm-hmm. And then somewhere in the Sahara Desert is our good buddy Nerdigans, all the way from the West Coast. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I've been working on articles all day. One on a very bizarre lesbian politician in Japan who's hating on bunny girls, and finishing up a censorship article in regards to Crunchyroll putting up an SAO censored edition.
Me and you are just in completely different worlds. It's like I almost just want to just idolize you in a sense too. But yeah, like keep doing what you're doing there. That's all I can say. And then of course someone who's in another world right now is our good buddy Cole Classic Cage, who's somewhere in a barn at the moment, dealing with wildlife and wild stock. How you doing tonight, Cassie?
I am perfectly fine, and I do not live in a barn, thankfully. And thankfully, I live far enough away from the barns in my area, so I don't have to get the scent of cow shit everywhere, I guess. So that's always a big plus. But
nope, just cat piss.
Well, I can't complain. Ziggy isn't that stinky, okay? So that's a big plus. But I'm glad to be here as always, ready to jump into the topics and have a good night.
And then someone who lives next to a zoo, as we like to call it, Planned Parenthood, is our good buddy Rob Motto. How you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. I don't have too much to complain about. I had a nice Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to being in Pennsylvania this time next month. So, yeah.
You and Cassie should go have a play date. That'll be adorable if it ever does happen.
No.
We'll go to David Buster's.
Exactly. Buffalo Wild Wings.
Do a Sheets run.
You know what's sad is I actually know where those places are in the area. Like Buffalo Wild Wings is literally by the West Manchester Mall, and there's a bunch of Sheets in the area. So yeah, let's not joke about this, okay?
Yeah, just go to Buffalo Wild Wings and go watch the Jets and the Titans game. It should be.
We want Rob to look forward to his visit home or for Christmas.
Terrible.
All right. We do have some guests who will be joining us later tonight. I know Rick will be here in a little bit. Our good buddy Trap Queen is joining us later tonight. We might have a couple other surprise guests throughout the course of the night, but let's go ahead and get this show started. Now, we're not exactly starting the show off on a good note. We have to get the downer subject out of the way. Have you guys heard about this Balenciaga mess that has turned into into quite the story? Let's just put it that way. Over the course of the last few weeks, it's kind of hard to express how this whole thing started. So I'm gonna go back to our good buddy Tucker Carlson in a video that he played not too long ago, which kind of snow rolled this whole thing. So the best way that I can explain it is to let him explain it here. So keep an eye out on this.
But it's not just the sexual mutilation of children in hospitals. This is part of a larger trend, and the trend is this. Adults crossing the line, and it has always been a bright line, into deep involvement with the sexuality of children. That has always been, and must in a civilized society always be, the most forbidden thing. It's considered unacceptable even among prison inmates. But now it seems to be growing.
You shouldn't over the Tucker
Consider
video,
the
but we'll
latest
see.
ad for the clothing brand Balenciaga. This was just uploaded on Instagram. As you can see, the photo shoot they're using to sell their products features a young girl holding a teddy bear in a bondage outfit. Then, in case you missed the point, the photo shoot also contains this image. It shows several documents. Most of them aren't visible, but what you can see when you zoom in, and of course the point is that you see it, is a reference to a U.S. Supreme Court case called Ashcroft versus Free Speech Coalition. That case struck down a law against kiddie porn. What is this? Well, it is what it appears to be. It's an endorsement of kiddie porn, of child pornography. What else could it be? We wanted to know. So we reached out today to Balenciaga to get their explanation, and they didn't respond. So we're going to have to take that on face value and ask, where's the moral outrage? We have an entire industry in this country comprised of moral outrage merchants. If you've ever been on Twitter, you know what we mean. Truly, an entire sector of our economy is devoted to attacking people for falling short of the mark. And here is a high-end retailer promoting kiddie porn in an ad on Instagram, and nobody notices. There's no boycott. There's no front-page New York Times editorial against it. And of course, Instagram let the advertisement run, endorsing kiddie porn. And by the way, if you have an alternate explanation for what this was, let us know. A child with a teddy bear in a bondage outfit and a Supreme Court decision striking down a kiddie porn law displayed on the table? What is that? Are we jumping to conclusions? Don't think so. It is what it appears to be. It's right in your face and no one's saying anything. Again, Instagram had no problem with this. Until Elon Musk took over Twitter, Twitter allowed hashtags that explicitly linked to child pornography. Nobody said anything because crimes against children are...
Yeah, so you pretty much get the gist of it there. So essentially what happened is that there was a recent ad campaign that they had ran, and people started digging into a lot of the things that they saw in this picture. And what happened here is that with the way that they do their ad campaigns, like it's usually like some celebrity or model who's in like the center of one of these pieces, and then they put a whole bunch of like things like around them that let's just say are very conspicuous to in its nature. And people started digging around at a lot of these things. They started finding clues to more, let's just say, sinister, I mean, the best way to describe it, more sinister acts that was hidden in a lot of these things. There's a big thread here, which I'll pull up, from Natalie Denise. Let me see if I can get her on here. And people started really going into just a lot of the pictures and references that were in a lot of these photos. As you see here, there's photos to essentially, like I said, child pornography case that was popular in the news. You start getting into like straight up like occultism, like satanic shit. You got like cannibalism, a lot of really dark, sinister images that you'll see here. And these are all linked to either they were naming like the artists who drew a lot of these pictures or a lot of like the court cases. So a lot of people are saying that this was done deliberately, that this is not an accident. This is not, by coincidence, that whoever was running this campaign, whoever was in charge of this whole thing had been putting all these images out there for quite a bit of time and have been doing it under everybody's nose. Now, Balenciaga has come out and said that they're essentially through the guy who did like the campaign with the children, which had a lot of disturbing images. I saw images of like children with like displaying like their feet and a lot of other questionable things that were going on in the background, some really sick shit. They're saying that, hey, look, we didn't have anything to do with this. This was all his fault. And now they're trying to like sue him for $25 million. However, in the course of doing that, they completely nuked all of their social media imagery from everything they had on Instagram, the stuff they had on Twitter, just completely nuked it all. And we're talking about an Instagram account that had nearly 14.5 million followers. This wasn't no small account that a few people that knew about. This is a pretty big, massive campaign. These people have links to like the Kardashians. I think Kim Kardashian came out recently and made a statement basically saying that she's going to keep working with the company. And then people are starting to notice that, yeah, there's also a lot of major celebrities who are endorsed or either work with this company who haven't really said much of anything. And people have noted that they're silent. Like Nicole Kidman here is doing one of their ads. You can only imagine what's in the background of this shit right here. You have some other people, like I said, the Kardashians, the Hadid sisters, the ones that do all the modeling, stuff like that. Yeah, like Euphoria stars that are all in on this brand. So it's hard to kind of sit here and say, like, where do we start with this story? Because you have okay, who's at fault for this? And then you also have the part of it where if this stuff is true, you're talking about some really sinister, sick shit that these people are a part of. I mean, I know it's conspiracy theory to talk about pedophile cults that run the world, and maybe they worship certain gods that aren't, Jesus and Allah, but this is what we're talking about here. So I don't know where you guys want to start with this story. It's a pretty fucked up one. Obviously, the more you dig into it, you kind of get into a dark rabbit hole. I'll start with Johnson on this one. What was kind of your initial thoughts when you heard about this story, especially as a Christian woman, the only proper Christian woman on this panel? Yeah, what is your thoughts on this whole
You can be
thing?
improper Christian and Jesus still loves you. So,
Woman. The designer who's getting sued is the woman, yeah.
Yeah, well, go ahead and sue them and go ahead and they really should just close. This is disgusting. And this is awful. I mean, I feel like children, people laugh at movies like Grease because they're 35-year-old people playing teenagers or whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, they're smoking back then as much, or a lot more than they are today. But it's on some level that's much nicer to deal with than to have actual child actors doing stuff in Hollywood and with these big fashion labels and stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, these kind of things have been swirling around for years and years, and nobody does anything. But you've seen it over and over again. Human trafficking is a real problem, and it's not. Some of it's legal when you do it with stuff like this, and that's. That's kind of what a lot of businesses are talking about, now with China and a lot of the human rights abuses that they've been doing with the Uyghur Muslims. And it's just really sick and sad, and somebody should just. I'm all for, hellfire and damnation in this case. So.
Yeah, by the way, I posted the Twitter thread to the ones that you guys can look up on your own. It goes much deeper than what we talked about. There's even some issues there that are probably too disturbing to talk about here on YouTube, but it's all there. And like I said, it felt like we talked about this, like Duke Nukem just said, it's not a conspiracy, it's real and it's actually happening. I know you guys are old enough to remember YouTube, back 15, 20 years ago when people were posting conspiracy theory videos and you talk about the Illuminati and the occultism, and everyone would always think that, oh, those people are crazy, those people are nuts. No one believes that Rihanna and Jay-Z worship the devil and things of that nature. We always just writ it off back then. But now you're starting to see it more and more blatantly. Now that you start thinking to yourself, yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence in anymore the shit that's going on and in a lot of this world. It's it's getting to a point where it's right up in your face. You can't really even deny it, to the point where back then you may be able to say that you're just naive or just ignorant to a lot of things that are in play now. Now they're just putting things right in your face. Be I'm. The movie we talked about real quick, there was some cannibal love story movie that just came out this week. I think it was Bones and All and whatnot. And it's after reading this story and seeing a lot of the context of the way that children were portrayed and a lot of the cannibalistic aspects of it, it's why the hell would I want to go sit and watch a 2.5 hour fucking cannibal love story by people who probably the same people who were responsible for this ad campaign to begin with? It's just it's not something that I want to be a part of at this point.
Well,
there's something worse going on, by the way. There is something worse going on, and I found it while I was doing the story on Pixiv. Why Pixiv stuff got changed is because they found that child porn was actually, and necrophilia pictures or necrophile pictures were being shared on Pixiv, and they were trafficking it amongst all this AI pictures because they found a loophole, and they were trafficking it on Pixiv. It's happening on Twitter, and it's actually under the lolly hashtag. It's been happening, and I heard it's been happening on YouTube as well. It's happening, and no one's talking about it at all. I didn't even know about it until people in my Discord group were telling me about the one on Twitter, the YouTube stuff I found out while I was getting the stuff for Pixif. But God, it's just insanity, and it's only going to get even more insane because of the AI art. Because AI art is getting so realistic, people can't tell if it's real or not anymore.
Yeah, which is obviously a problem as well.
Yeah, there's been such a push for like just the normalization of degeneracy, especially in the last 20 years or so. Anyway,
Yeah.
With the rise of the internet. I mean, like I've talked about this before on some other streams about how the internet started out as kind of like this wonderland, and now it's turning into the underworld.
Like remember back in the day when like the worst thing you have to worry about on the internet was, hey, don't go into chat rooms and talk to people with weird avatars because they may be an adult man, and don't get yourself in trouble and stuff like that. Now it's like, Jesus, can we go back to those fucking days?
Well, part of it is because like there's a big push for like leniency when it comes to crime too, because we don't want to hurt criminals' feelings. And I'm like, I think this is part of the reason that like the guillotine was so popular.
Yeah, or why bullets should be very popular moving forward as well.
Well, I was very late to this story. I didn't look into it at all until Friday because I saw the post that you shared with the group. It's this stuff when it shows up absolutely haunts me and disturbs me to no end. When I first got on YouTube when I was 19 in 2008, I looked into like conspiracy Illuminati videos, and I the whole like devil worshiping thing aspect of it, I never could connect in a serious way. But the idea that powerful people get together and decide things and, have similar hobbies and all that makes sense. And I've never not believed that that's true. So, but this weird ass fucking like occult shit, this like, like demon worshiping, child blood drinking, fucking occult. Like it's the shit of nightmares. It's literally horror movies don't scare me. That scares me. That's why Eyes Wide Shut. I know I'm bringing this into movies because I'm a nerd and that's how I relate to the world is through movies. But Eyes Wide Shut is a horror movie because the idea that incredibly beyond powerful people get together and can ruin your life or whatever because you've stumbled onto something you shouldn't have seen is just, it's terrifying. So
not to mention that Kubrick died before the movie came out too, which also yeah,
trust me, I think about that shit all the time. So I hope it's not real. I'm as lenient as it gets when it comes to art and expression and doing disturbing stuff, but like all this stuff that gets added up together absolutely gives me the fucking creeps. So I hope it's just a risque thing, but at this point I don't think it is. I think it's something much more nefarious.
I will say it is kind of like the end game of nihilism though, is like at what point, if everything is relative, when is it okay to grape a child? I would have asked 20 years ago, when's it okay to murder a child? So
And by the way, like the Washington Post tried to get away with doing a review of it was like a Broadway play about how society treats pedophiles too harshly when they get released back into the world. It's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, we're gonna have sympathy for these fucking people? It's like, well, where the hell are we going here?
I really avoided looking into this shit because this kind of shit really like obsessed the hell out of me. So like I literally I saw that you sent that and I just avoided it because it's not something that there's, for the most part when it comes to shit, I love joking around, dark humor, like even like violent dark humor. When it comes to this stuff, I don't respond too well to it. It's disgusting, even if it's a joke, but really in the grand scheme of things, normal people don't joke about this kind of stuff because it's pretty much the most evil thing that can possibly happen. And these people, they are evil, and the fact that they're just trying to hide it up, it's just, this company is just entirely complicit until they do dive into this majorly and axe these people that are involved in this. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. They just want to pretend that it didn't happen and just keep it in their, I guess in the vault. But the fact that they actually can be disgusting enough to portray a child in some sort of sexual outfit, and I think it's horrendous. I don't support any of that
Where
shit.
is this
It's
place
disgusting.
located? Its main base of operations?
I would have to look into it. I'm not sure if it's like an American company or not, because I haven't like the location. It's basically just the lot of the stuff that they were putting into the ads, but I can check it out while you make your point.
Because the way I see it, if it is, or if this is an American-based company, the law can actually step in, as they are doing things that are technically considered child endangerment in certain states, unlike California.
I was gonna say not
No
California.
offense to anybody from California, but your state is pretty fucked up.
Yeah. To answer your question real quick, its headquarters in Paris, and it was founded in Spain, so it's not an American company.
Well, then that explains it, because look at what else came out of France. Cuties. The thing is, the way I see it, they've been trying to sexualize children ever since Cuties came out. I've been on the horn on my YouTube channel trying to warn people about it. It's like, if you let this go, if you let this become a trend, if you let this become normalized, it will get worse. You're going to be seeing kids in very exposed situations that they should never be exposed to. You're eventually, years down the line, because nobody decided to do anything about it, you might even see kids in sexual situations underage on TV. Not movies, TV. And that should scare the hell out of parents. If parents are not paying attention to this stuff, they have only themselves to blame, first off. But look at what's been going on. This is now happening. And people who are saying, oh, you're just a naysayer, you're a doomsday sayer, and this and that. Motherfucker, have you been paying attention?
The thing is, since Cuties, it's only gotten worse. I dropped Netflix immediately after the release of Cuties. I have not subscribed since. Even though I know plenty of places I could watch their stuff for free, I tend to just not care entirely, because it's the emotional aspect of like just completely pissing me off when it comes to stuff like that. I don't even want to go on a website to watch anything that you have, because of how infuriated that made me. And since then, we've seen Disney go pretty hard on some sort of fucking weirdo ass campaign to introduce sexuality to children, acting as though they can be the parents of children and introduce things that are completely inappropriate. We have schools and teachers that want to pretend to be the parents of these children and introduce sex ed to kids as young as 4 years old. It's not gotten better. It's only gotten worse. And until something major happens, I don't see it getting better from here. It's only going to get worse. And this is just proof of it. We're going to continue to see more and more. And it scares me. It really does scare me, because, a lot of people like to say that, like, libertarianism, like, this is okay in libertarianism. No, it's not fucking okay. No. You're dealing with children that are under the age of consent, period. So, like, the fact that anybody does try and tie this to any form of libertarianism, I want to cause harm to them physically for doing this shit. But I will not, because my libertarian philosophy of not forcing force on someone. Let's just put it that way. But
the way I see it,
until something major happens, I don't see this getting better from here.
I mean, the way that I see it, and it's a sad look on our society, but I think in a lot of ways we're all pissing in the wind until the shooting starts. And this is definitely one of the issues that we're pissing on the wind with.
Well, I do want to mention this is you have idiots like the People Advice attacking fictional characters and defending them, but they will, they're more than happy to like promote pedophilia and declare it as sexuality on their website. I'm dead serious. Go look it up on their website. They are absolutely fine with saying this, and they have a tag, and I had to write about it, so I know about this, called Virtuous Pedophiles. I'm dead fucking serious. They do.
No, that's another thing that I've never understood from people. It's like, and keep me wrong, I'm no fan of like the lolly stuff whatsoever. I think that stuff is way too borderline for me and in that aspect as well. But I never understood the people who would attack stuff like that, but then turn around and then try to romanticize and sympathize with actual fucking sex criminals. Like that to me makes no sense. Like you're going against the fictional stuff, but then the real life stuff is where it's okay with you. Like I've never understood the mental gymnastics behind that shit to me, and I've seen a lot of people do it. Like I've seen people try to rationalize with that whole thing too. Like I don't fucking get it. Like we people.
Any form of saying that this kind of stuff is okay, just kicks the can down the road. I mean, a lot of people, demonize R. Kelly, and he is a demon. He's an evil human being. He has done unspeakable things with individuals who are underage. But a lot of people don't realize that R. Kelly himself, when he was like 14, was essentially like raped by a woman, and he was told it's okay, and it's just that's not okay. You're 14. That's not okay. And you tell this individual at the age of 14 that this stuff is okay, and lo and behold, R. Kelly's history and what he's currently doing time for. When you tell
that's
people
different
that
than like a fictional character where there's no victim. That's what the point that we're trying to make is.
Nope. But the thing,
I don't care if it's
normalization of it that in any way of trying to teach anyone that this is okay in any form or fashion is going to lead to warped mindset.
But they're not for kids though. These are usually these are not for kids. This material though. This is mainly for adults. This is just for adult entertainment. These books are not for kids at all. They're not being sold to kids. These are sold to adults. So, and these drawings that are being made, they're drawn by adults for adults. These are not for kids at all. And the majority of people recognize that. The people that are showing them to kids are pedophiles and disgusting. And something I do know from, being around lolicons and shotacons is they can't stand pedophiles. They out them the second they find out they are a pedophile.
Well, hold on. I want to turn it back to the Balenciaga thing because there's one part that I wanted to let people know too. Is that if you guys remember, or maybe you guys hadn't heard this story yet, but there's a story out in the Netherlands right now about food supply and stuff like that, where the government is essentially coming in and shutting down operating farms in order to curb climate control. That's what they're doing, right? So the government's literally taking over the farms and telling the farmers to stop making food. And the Netherlands is like one of the biggest producers of food, like probably outside the United States. So what Rob was talking about earlier about how these secret societies come together and start making rules for the rest of us, the rest of the world. These are the type of things that we're talking about here. And these people where, people like to just say, oh no, it's just art, man. Oh no, there's no meaning to it. You're looking too much into this. Like there's some real sinister stuff going on right now that people are beyond our pay grade. Now, obviously we can't get too deep into it here on YouTube because, you can't spell out certain theories here on a Google owned platform, and, don't dig any further into that. Don't be evil. But it's like it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, how much are people going to take before they eventually just start swinging back? Because the pendulum is going to swing. The problem is like, how far is it going to get before we finally see a pushback on any of this stuff? And the sad part is that up to this point, we've kind of just been letting it happen as a society for years. And you're thinking, okay, it's like they're going after kids clearly. Like whatever these people are doing, they're clearly targeting children now. So it's like, is this the hill that you guys are ready to die on? Because it feels like this should be the hill right here. Like I don't want to see it get any worse than this point.
It's the hill to kill on. So
that too.
I mean, the thing is, it's like I call myself at this point a defeated libertarian. I've accepted the reality that both sides of the political spectrum are literally in bed together, whether they want to be or not, and that nothing is going to change. No matter who has been in office my lifetime, it is still gone to individual liberty being lost at every single front my entire lifetime, no matter which party had taken office, no matter which party is in whatever jurisdiction. Individual liberty has been lost every single step of my lifetime. There is I don't know how we get out of this, honestly, because it's like the people that are, supposedly the party, which is technically supposedly the Republican Party, that's supposed to be against this shit, they've let it happen. They've went on their little soapboxes and pretended to be against it. But overall, what have they done over the past many years is let it happen and then fight with libertarians the whole fucking time. That's all they do. They don't fight against liberals and leftist maniacs. They don't do that. They fight with libertarians who say if you're not willing to do something, then step the fuck aside. They want to fight with us instead. So it's like at this point, I feel as though, why am I making myself upset? That's why I have to take myself out of the conversation for my own sanity, because I'm not going to give my sanity to these people. They may try to take everything from me, but I can't let them take my sanity.
You want to know, or basically the only way to fix it is, as I've said, it's an unpopular opinion, but it is also one that I feel needs to be said. You begin with a Palpatine, you end with a Maximus from Gladiator, where you do the emergency powers, you wait, or you do what needs to be done to get this shit stomped out and tamped out, and then hopefully you make sure that there's restrictions to limit so that there can't be an absolute authority, and you have the person step down knowing that what they did was done in order to get rid of all this crap. Unfortunately, nobody is pure enough to have that kind of intention, to be given absolute power, only to be willing to give it up when the time comes to actually have to give it up.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to fix it. And nobody in the world is going to take that step, because one, they'll be labeled a tyrant. Two, they'll be labeled, or they will be completely seen as a fascist dictator and whatnot. And it's like, yes, that is indeed true. You will be seen as that, but you are given that power in order to stop these specific things. You cannot exercise it in any other way. That's what I mean by putting restrictions on this sort of emergency power kind of thing. As far as I'm concerned, if the government really wants to tamp down on this, investigate the pedophiles in both damn parties, because yes, Republicans and Democrats have alleged sexual offenses in their parties. Now, as for handling companies like Balenciaga, I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, rather, that or any of your business is not going to be allowed in the United States. No ads, no product, nothing, until you remove the thematic or the pedophilic themes from your work. It's that simple. If somebody was to take a hard line on that, believe me, I'd vote for them.
Yeah, well, if someone wanted to take a hard line and rid themselves from pedophilia, they'd probably get shot if they were running for office, because, they didn't want to talk about who's...
Even Elon Musk is facing a lot of backlash because he's cleaned up a lot of the problems that had.
Oh, he has.
He's even come out and said that he's deleted a lot of the problematic pictures on his platform. So
it's disgusting that it takes Elon Musk to do something like that.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk is he has children. He is a father. He knows.
Oh no, I'm not saying that as a diss towards Elon Musk. It's just disgusting to me that the previous people that were running the show didn't take it upon themselves to take that step. It goes to show, where these people's their morals lie.
How many people?
They have any at all.
But how many people worked at Twitter who are no longer work there and knew about this? It's like, how do you go into a place like that, know that that's on your platform, and under the guise of what? Ultimate permissiveness? Like, this is the thing. Like, I, as a young person growing up, I always wanted to be accepting of people to like a pretty open degree. And I still am. I'm still very open. All kinds of people, all walks of life. But like, there's a basic morality that you do not cross. And I thought that, like, I don't know, 95% of humanity had that same thing of like, no, you don't cross this line. Apparently not. Apparently there's a lot of fucking sick people out there. And I really try not to be judgmental, but it's like, no, it's good to be judgmental. It's good to have value judgments and understand who you are and who you are not. Because apparently there's a lot of people who don't know who they are or just have a poor relationship with it. I don't know, man.
It's like not only with this generation, we've bred people to think that the worst thing you could possibly be in society is a racist or a sexist or a homophobe. But when it comes to actual predators, people who, prey on children or even criminals in general, I mean, how many cities are passing laws that are helping their crime rates skyrocket because they're sympathizing with people who commit crimes? Like Illinois is telling people you can't even defend yourself in your own home anymore if someone breaks into your house. Like people are stealing left and right in fucking California because they just legalize crime. So sympathize with the people who actually do other people harm. But if you voted for Trump or you watch Alex Jones, you're the undesirable person who can't be redeemed whatsoever. And that's the problem with Twitter. They were spending so much time trying to silence Trump and fucking and Nick Fuentes and fucking Alex Jones that all the fucking child trackers and the people who were doing child porn got away scot-free and no one ever noticed because they weren't the evil ones everyone was worrying about. And that's what's kind of fucked about this whole thing is that all these people are focused on the complete wrong thing here. Like they think, the number one problem on the internet is misinformation. Bull fucking shit. And you guys fucking know it. But yeah, I mean, look, there's no easy way to segue out of that conversation. It's fucked up. It's still going on. Hopefully someone does something about it by any means necessary. I'll throw that line
on this company, guys.
Yeah, I'll throw that line out very much, but it's like, yeah, if someone wants to go full Frank Castle, I wouldn't be against it. So, well, let's go ahead and jump someone else in here who has joined the beanie cult here tonight is our good buddy Rick Aragon. How you doing tonight, Rick?
Mavericks?
You're muted, Boomer.
You're muted. There you go.
Good, thank you.
How's it going? Is that a Mavericks cap you're wearing right now? Is that what it looks like?
Yes, and I like it because it has a little ball on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine's does too. It doesn't move around that much, but I got a little ball on mine as well. So
yeah, I picked this up when I went to see them. In Dallas, and I was still trying to figure out who this person was that was very popular with the shirt and the jerseys. I eventually figured out. Yeah,
Luka Doncic.
Luka. That was a big person. So
by the way, our good buddy Josh is upset that we didn't let him into our beanie cult after he's the one who's been wearing the beanies for the longest time. Hey, you got the link to the chat, so come jump on so we can bully you into wearing a beanie there, Josh. So. Let's move on to a lighter topic, something we can all laugh at. I think we all need a good laugh. Alyssa Milano is a fucking moron. Can anyone agree with this? Is that
yeah, that's a pretty easy laugh.
I mean, so earlier this year, if you guys, I did a show. I did an article for Bound Again the Comics. I think it was about why like movie stars are like dead or something like that. Why action movies are dead, and I pretty much pointed at the way that they're trying to feminize the action star by we don't have your Stallones and Schwarzeneggers anymore. Now they're just putting like 100-pound like models up there in like superhero movies, be like they're your new action star. So I did an article complaining about that, and then Alyssa Milano's team on her podcast, because apparently she has one, decided that they were going to highlight my article saying that this is the type of bigotry that Bounding in the Comics relies on. And it's like, hey, Alyssa, if you want to come on and sign my fourth season of Charmed and be my best buddy, I mean, you're welcome to come to the show. She never replied. She never even mentioned. I don't even think she even mentioned me by name, which kind of like broke my heart just a little bit there as a long-term fan of Charmed. But I think after reading this story, you guys are going to realize that Shannon Doherty was the good guy the entire time, and you guys just didn't realize it. So Elizabeth Milano is the growing list of celebrities who have been just melting down about Elon Musk and Twitter and Tesla and all this nonsense. So I think she's done a lot of stupid shit over the last couple of days, but these are the couple of ones that I want to focus on. She was so upset about Elon Musk buying Twitter that she vowed that she was going to sell her Tesla and get a Volkswagen, only for people to remind her that Volkswagen was literally founded by Nazis. So, yeah, this is let's just put it, she's not a very bright woman. Let's just put it succinctly there. She put this tweet out there, says, I gave back my Tesla, bought a Volkswagen. I love it. I'm not sure how advertisers can buy space on Twitter. A publicly traded company being pushed into alignment with hate and white supremacy doesn't seem like a winning business model. And then people, of course, have to point out the history of the car that she just purchased because she's not very bright. And even the Hodge twins pointed out that, yeah, Volkswagen was founded by the Nazis and Hitler. Elon Musk just laughed because he's just been trolling everybody on Twitter for the last few weeks. So this whole thing just became a Elizabeth Milano is just a big, dumb, stupid idiot thread. As you can see here, and Elon Musk is bad, but Hitler is perfectly fine in the eyes of this woman.
Elon Musk makes Hitler look good, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another one, a car company from Adolf Hitler. This is an old school Volkswagen, as those would say. So, I mean, if you're a car enthusiastic, like Jay Leno, you can get one of those type of cars. So that's one of the few things that she got heat for. Here's another thing that she got heat for fairly recently is that she tried to double down on this by saying that, oh, Elon Musk, you bought Twitter, you could have ended world hunger. This is a talking point from like 5 months ago that already got like completely debunked. I think it was like Bernie Sanders or like Elizabeth Warren, one of those two people who pointed out, it's like, oh, you have like $200 billion. If you just gave away a few billion, you can solve world hunger. And he was like, okay, tell me who I should donate to and I'll give you the money. And then no one ever got back to him like at all. It's the myth that if you just give like $20 billion away, that you can just solve world hunger instantaneously. And the fact that you won't do that is the reason why people are still starving, which is absolute nonsense. So they were on The View, which is definitely an intellectual heavyweight show here. And she says that, she talked about turning in her Tesla. It's like, what popped up over the weekend was your tweet when you returned your Tesla. You support Elon Musk's vision. What happened? What changed your mind? And she said, well, for me, speaking of Me Too, when he was accused of sexual assault and paid out $250,000 to this person, I decided that I can't live with that hypocrisy of driving a car when that happened, even though it's like you just gave it away apparently a couple days ago. So when this occurred, it's like I'm so annoyed with all these billionaires, with the exception of a few, which is probably her husband and the one he works with. Especially Elon Musk. You can buy Twitter and destroy it for $40 billion. $40 billion. Elon Musk. Imagine if he donated that money to UNICEF, who's definitely not involved with any shady dealings whatsoever. And it would change the world. There would be no hunger. It said. Then Whoopi Goldberg says he can go in his pocket and donate that money. He said he can go in his pocket and donate that money. It wouldn't even cost $40 billion. But these guys, I mean, And then Joy Behar said that the load of electric cars are coming on the market. It's like, yeah, good luck getting another one then, you fucking prudes. But I want to start with Orange Hat here because I know you recently did a video about Alyssa Milano not too long ago. Is she one of the dumbest people on Earth? Do you think there's somebody else in that top three that you would? Well,
other than David Hogg and a few other people, yeah, she is pretty much one of the dumbest people on Earth. I also part of my video was that guy that she was quoting, whatnot, where the Nazis disavowed, or Volkswagen disavowed the Nazis after World War II. That doesn't... I mean, this guy actually got into a Twitter argument with me. Mm-hmm. He's like, reading's not really your thing. I'm like, oh, I can read fine, but apparently you didn't get the point that it's redundant what you said. Volkswagen still used forced labor and and concentration camps to build their freaking cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't help. As for Alyssa Milano, well, obviously she likes to say that the other side's the Nazi. Who's the freaking Nazi when you're literally buying a car that was, well, or a company that
funded by
was
the Nazis,
funded and built by Nazis? But honestly, going into the political for a moment, a lot of people love to claim that right-wingers are fascists, they're Nazis, they're communists, or whatever. When if you actually go back to your high school lessons and look at how the political spectrum is looked at, far right extreme right is literally no government, where far left, extreme left, that's literally dictatorship, fascism, Nazism, and
It's usually on
communism.
a spectrum of
Authoritarianism.
efficiency versus, like in the middle you have the virtue because it's perfectly
And in the
balanced.
middle, that is where the moderate or constitutional moderates reside, what or what the American government is or was founded on. But as for Alyssa Milano, she's just an idiot. I mean, it's like she can't, or every time she tries to own somebody. I gave away my Tesla. Guess what? You still put money in Elon Musk's pocket no matter if you give it away or not. You still paid money for it. You put money in his pocket. You're not owning him by any measure. You're buying, and then you go and buy a freaking Nazi car and thinking, oh, I'm going to stick it to the Nazis. You literally just put money in their pocket. Well, not the Nazis specifically, but
Yeah.
that
It's not Argentina.
Nazi
so.
origin. But
So,
it's like, oh my God, how stupid can you be? But then again, I can't really rag on her because it really isn't good to make fun of somebody who is mentally handicapped, such as Alyssa Milano. But in this case, you went full retard, woman. Never go full retard.
Well, let me pose this thought to you guys. I actually start with Rick because he's the one that's joining us here. It's like, are you surprised that the SJWs, just like your good old buddy over there, your communist friend, didn't try to cancel Volkswagen instead of Tesla? Or do you think they just have double standards? I mean, we could also talk about the fact that, we've put, $55 billion into the Ukraine that literally has a neo-Nazi unit that's fighting Russia as we speak?
Well, I imagine that a lot of my democratic socialist friends and such may not connect Volkswagen, which I think translates into what, folk car or people's car,
People's car, yeah.
people's car, with the Nazis. For some reason, they connected with the cute little beetle and just I guess the '60s hippie counterculture. That's my only thought on why they like the Volkswagen. It's small. And notice that she didn't just trade it in for a Volkswagen. She traded it in for a Volkswagen, I assume, EV electric vehicle.
Mhm.
Right.
So she really cares about the Earth. She's free to do with her vehicle whatever she wants to do with her vehicle. But again, she likes to make this lofty announcement, and then she's told, "Oh, the Nazis were the ones who created this." So you're actually kind of working with the legacy. She should go ahead and try to do instead of buying the Volkswagen, she should go and do some sort of reparations to all the people who were Nazi victims. If she
Yeah.
wants to really atone for her stupidity, but what can I say? She's she doesn't know who the boss is still.
There you go.
Well, I'm trying to think of some insults for her. Like, is yenta an insult? Like, is that like puta? Is that still work?
Yeah, that one is an insult. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know about yenta. Isn't that like Yiddish grandmother?
I was gonna say, yeah,
No.
that's a Yiddish word.
Oh,
I'm
it is
embarrassed.
Yiddish? That's funny.
I'm embarrassed that this woman owns the same, well, at least drives the same brand, like car make or that I do.
Is
Because
your
I love
car at least
Volkswagen.
not electric?
What?
Is
Yes,
your car
no.
at least not electric?
Yes, I actually like driving. I don't understand people who like driving and are interested in EVs because I think they're a giant fad.
Yeah.
And really, you can only get one if you make some money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They at minimum they think they start at 55,000 for the most part. So
That's a brand new one, in all fairness. So I have an EV, and it was
fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, but
30,000, but it was
I
old.
bought a Volkswagen because I like to drive. I like spirited driving.
Yeah, and our good buddy Brahma Bull here says, let's not throw Volkswagen under the bus because Alyssa Milano is an idiot. So,
Yeah.
Well, we all
So-
have problematic beginnings, don't we?
Well,
But I just want to say real quick, BMW, their engines were in the German Air Force. They were famous for that. That symbol, it's what is it? Propeller in a blue sky. And Volkswagen was what engineered a lot of the German, tanks and different vehicles the army used. So I just look at it like it's an interesting piece of history, but I don't take it that seriously. Alyssa Milano is an idiot, though. That is absolutely clear as day, because she tried to own Elon Musk and ultimately didn't do a very good job.
And I'm
She
still
has
on
a very interesting way of arguing her point too. I call it the Bernie Sanders method of arguing, because like
Yeah.
any objection to something, he'll immediately it's almost like turning the barrel in like one of those machine guns, where it's like, okay, it didn't work on this end, so we turn it to the side and shoot it from another way, and it doesn't work because she's like talking about she's starting to talk about the like rating in her car, and then she's like, well, let's talk about the fact that he didn't cure world hunger. And it's like, well, you just bought an EV from Volkswagen. You could have donated that money. Why do you have a car at all? Why do you need another car? You should be giving that money. If you're so concerned about this thing, you should be doing it. And it just kind of like my biggest pet peeve is hypocrisy, because it's like it's where hypocrisy exists. You'll find people with their closest values, but they're also like the ones that they suck at the worst at fulfilling a lot of the time.
Well, I'm not convinced it's purely hypocrisy from her line of thinking. It's, well, this person has more money than I do, and there's this big problem. He can take that money and direct it toward the cause that I want, but I don't have to put up my money because he has more than I do.
Come on, Rick.
Let's
but if it saves just one life, okay?
Exactly.
Oh my god. Look.
Come on, everybody should have seen that up.
Let's just honestly get to the point with these leftist retards on Twitter. They honestly love Nazis because they actually want Nazis were socialists, and they're socialists. They're taking on their exact same fucking viewpoints for the most part. They don't really care about the past and history in any way. Otherwise, maybe they know a little bit about it. They don't care about history. The whole point in so-called hatred of the Nazi Party is to just be able to label their enemy, to make their enemy look bad and make themselves look like fresh cut spring roses. Look at what this bitch tweeted. She literally, it's just the fucking tweet was, I'm such a good person. Look at me. How can you people support this guy? Basically, I'm better than all of you. Right. And this is the type of people that these people are. This bitch, she honestly, when it comes to these vehicles, for when I look at these leftist maniacs that clearly think they're better than us, getting one of these electric cars, it just it only validates that they're better than you in their mind. They'll just like the blue check mark, just like that kind of shit. These people are so pathetic. They're so mentally weak that they need these things to validate their existence. They have to believe that they're better than us. And really, they ain't shit. And the more we let them know that, the better. And I hope that people like her continue to get absolutely destroyed on Twitter. And if you don't like it, get the fuck off the platform, because we don't really want you anyway. But you don't have to leave, because we love shitting on you any chance that we get. And when you do it for us, it makes it even better.
I like that they're out in the public with it for what it's worth. You can kind
exactly.
of the stupidity on full display, and not to support them in their other endeavors, or that if you do kind of go into that rabbit hole of stuff, that they're not an expert in anything other than their perceived field of expertise.
And just quick note on Neo's point right here. It says people forget that the Nazi Party came from socialism. No, they don't forget. They deny that the Nazi Party came from socialism. They outright denied that the Nazis were socialists. They outright denied that Stalin was a communist, that Mao was a communist, that modern day North Korea is still communist.
And you want to know something that's interesting?
National socialism. That's what Nazi is short for. National Socialist, I can't say in German.
But they perverted the word.
No. The Nazis love controlling all aspects of people's lives, and they did it through the government. That's what.
Well, here's something that's even more interesting. Socialism is actually a transitory step in government. The first step is actually democracy. if you really think about it, democracy is will of the people. A pure democracy, if half the people want your house, they get your house. Well, that's overstepping on a person's rights.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to socialism where you start to regulate everything, and then you go to communism where it's absolute control. And that's basically what happens. Now, as for CJ mentioning Bernie Sanders, I gotta say that my biggest pet peeve is that I can actually do a perfect impression of Bernie Sanders. And which I will sadly do for you. I'll tell you what we're all gonna do. We're gonna have a lot of pudding. We're gonna kick Donald Trump out of the office. We're gonna have more pudding because he's a racist. And then we're gonna make America democratic again.
We're gonna have democratic socialism.
I always laugh at people who say democratic socialism because they're like, we should be like the Danes and the.
It's a tautology.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm like, they're all white people. Is that what you're saying?
It's a fucking tautology.
No,
do very well.
My democratic socialist friend, she loves to tell me that we should be like Sweden and Norway and Denmark.
Oh, so you mean that you want to be more
So
white?
tax the shit out of everybody and then give them free healthcare?
Yes.
And kill people that aren't white?
Oh, well, I mean,
exactly.
A lot of those states are hyper capitalistic, and that's why they started the higher taxes.
No, not only that, like places like Denmark, like what other way to say, hey, stop saying that we're socialists. We're not socialists, you fucking morons.
Yeah, well, and their population is like also largely homogenous. So when people say that to me that they're democratic social, I'm just like, oh, so who do you want to kill? And which racial minority do you want to kill? And then when they talk about socialism, my way of dealing with
they have a smaller population, and I think Denmark in particular has been very strict on their immigration policies recently, and they've been kicking out economic migrants because they aren't refugees; they are economic migrants by a United Nations definition. So
they are also, I think, almost all of these Nordic countries that are socialist. Paradises, they're also technically constitutional monarchies because I think all of them have an actual king or queen. So
yes, but there's no constitutional, or there's no constitution to it.
Yeah, they're not. Well, they're not actual pure socialists. And
no.
I'm fascinated though where the idea sprung from that these are all these beautiful countries where everyone gets quote free healthcare, free education, you get 50-week vacations and only have to work 2 weeks a year of that, and these are just and that all the people here are happy. I always ask my Democratic Socialist friend if of all the people, if all the Swedes and Norwegians, if they're all happy, how is it that their literature is always and their movies are always so miserable? I mean, have any of these people seen Ingmar Bergman movies? They're the most miserable, morose, sad things in the world. Yeah. And you look at the Harry Hola series, or you look at the Millennium series with the girl in the spider, the spider web or whatever that is. Her answer is it's because they're always so happy that that's the only way they can experience sadness through their books and through their movies, because they're always happy because the government provides everything for them.
Well, not only that, you also have to remind yourself that the people who are now trying to say, oh, Denmark and Sweden, those are the countries. These are the same people who 15 years ago were saying that Venezuela was the benchmark for how socialism should work. And even have guys like Bernie Sanders who 10, 15 years ago, I think this is from either 2011 or 2010, when he said that the American dream is more apt to be realized in South America, places like Ecuador and Venezuela and Argentina. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember Venezuela, but have you guys checked the conversion rate of their dollar versus our dollar right now? It kind of collapsed, and people are like eating rats now to survive. But the government's still rich, so I mean, there's that.
I love it when people bring up Venezuela because all I have to do is, hey, you remember that episode with Parks and Rec where April Ludgate goes to Venezuela? Do you remember how hilariously awful that episode is now? It's aged so poorly.
Actually, it does have some comedic value because of the straight to jail bit.
Straight to jail. Straight to jail. Mm-hmm.
You want to know what I find incredibly funny when it comes to places like Venezuela and other areas like that? A certain socialist apprentice of Bernie named Alexandria Ocasio Pinta Cortez.
Big booty Latina.
Yeah, the big booty Latina. She was bitching about her grandmother, and then her entire freaking family down there is like, leave our names out your motherfucking mouth.
Well, I think you're referring to the 49th president of the United States. After we have Uncle Joe, Queen Kamala, and His Holiness Saint Pete Buttigieg, who will all be president. Or so. And when it comes to Venezuela, I can tell you this: right now, across the border in Juarez, the Mexican officials there did destroy a small, I guess, unauthorized living area that's made up of Venezuelan refugees trying to get into the United States. And fortunately, I guess they haven't run across the border highway for people to accidentally hit. So again, it's all these great countries, they'll tell you, well, that's not real socialism. That's dictatorship. That's autocratic. And
that's the last step of it.
That's why
you're muted, Cassie. If you're trying to yell at someone right now.
That's why we have to look to Sweden and Norway and Denmark, because they're real democratic countries and they love their socialism. That's what you're going to hear.
Every time they come with that bullshit saying, oh, this isn't socialism and that isn't socialism, then clearly socialism isn't fucking sustainable, because you can't give me an example of it.
No, it's not real.
It hasn't been done right yet.
Yeah, it's not real socialism.
Then you know what? It's not sustainable, because plenty of people have tried it and it has always failed. It always fucking sucks. And these people fucking suck. And every time someone mentions AOC's stupid ass, the half Puerto Rican in me dies. Like, I'm literally getting whiter because the half Puerto Rican in me is dying. So thank you.
But she will be the second female president after Kamala Harris. So we know that.
No,
you know what? I hope to be dead by the time that happens.
I think America will be dead by the time.
California will not tolerate that. You saw they voted for Bernie over her. They cannot stand her.
Well,
I think they can. I think they love her.
My favorite point of hypocrisy is, like I said, I watch a lot of South Korean films, and like I said, they like to think that North Korea isn't really communist, but then I'm watching these South Korean films that they clearly think otherwise, that they're super communist, and even people from North Korea will also tell you that they're communist as well. So apparently, it's just you, a college student from somewhere in Idaho, who apparently doesn't figure this shit out yet, that these countries are actually pretty red as far as their policies goes. But
I mean, like, part of the beauty of America is that you could literally buy your own land and you could set up your own commune. It's been done before.
For now.
And you can have, I mean, like, they had that whole Chaz thing or Chop thing down in the Portland area.
In Seattle. No, it was a disaster. It was a fucking disaster. Okay? People got murdered. Like, it was just, seriously, that was a dereliction of duty by the police.
My friend was actually in the car
sent out, but it was a disaster.
Yeah, my friend was in the car with the kids that got murdered, or at least with one of the kids that got murdered. But unfortunately, he's gone. Sadly, he passed away like not too long earlier this year. That's what it was.
Oh my God.
All of these utopian ideas have been here since practically since the beginning of the Republic. Certainly after the Great Awakening, when you had, was it Oneida, and you had the not the Amish, the Shakers. They were in that vein, but they were driven more by religion than politics.
You mean the Quakers?
The Quakers? The Pennsylvania Quakers?
No, I don't think the Quakers. The Shakers.
Okay.
Yeah, they were actually led by a woman who believed that she was the second coming of Jesus and stuff. It was very interesting stuff.
Yeah. But that was kind of socialist in that they shared, living quarters and they shared everything. But that was more religious and not political.
Well, and, like, there is some mix between the two, because you have to have like a moral center for your arguments when you create like a commune around stuff like that, if you're gonna make it last. So you start your own libertarian commune. Cassie.
Well, every morning you
then
could
shit
wake
like
up.
Waco happens.
But and your
Ruby
libertarian
Ridge.
communist, I mean your libertarian commune, every morning you will bow to a portrait of Margaret Thatcher and you will recite her creed. At a certain, problem with socialism is at a certain point you run out of other people's money.
Money.
Yeah.
That's actually the greatest point in the world, like dealing with socialists online, because everybody's like, if we just get so and so to pay more taxes, I'm like, why don't you give me your money first? Because it's like I'll give you money after you give me money, because I obviously have less money than you. So
well, real quick,
I do want to
usually
point
shut
out,
them
there's
up
a couple
real
of
quick.
things with the socialist experiment / communist experiment. One, there was the commune in Occupy Wall Street. And then, of course, there was the CHOP, which was like the second coming of Occupy Wall Street. And hell, I mean, in New York, they had a little commune, which was like Occupy Wall Street Part 2. And then LA, they actually, no one talks about this, but I saw it happen on live stream. They had a little Occupy situation outside of the mayor's office for, I want to say, like a couple of weeks or something like that. One of my friends documented it. Oh my God, it was insanity. It was like their own little CHOP.
Well, I do want to pivot real quick. First of all, let me give a quick little shout out to our guys in the chat right now, especially our good buddies Josh Berger and Spencer Bercoli, who are in the chat right now, who are both moderators and are not approving other people's comments. So I just want to give you guys a shout out specifically and then blame you guys equally for the problems going on in the chat. So, and then, of course, our good buddy John Hickshaw, who was actually with us a few weeks back. We're going to have him back on with us in the not too distant future. So I'm glad you're here as well. Yeah, it's like I could see us sending me money too. What are we talking about?
You're not a socialist.
I will say real quick before, because I think we're about to move to the next topic. I will say a lot of these Nordic countries are also buttressed by NATO and the United States in terms of like having a defense. I mean, I know they have their own, military and whatever, but it's like they also don't spend what we do, and what a lot of other countries do on a military. So it's like that certainly helps Sweden and Norway when you're not footing the bill nearly as much.
Yeah, you do have
I do want to say to Cassie 1 second. I do want to apologize to Cassie for killing her a little bit inside for mentioning that insane parasite in my state. I didn't mean to kill you in a little bit inside.
It's fine.
If I would have known it would cause you that much damage, I would have never have mentioned it.
Well,
I will say, like, for what it's worth, the problem with AOC and like Alyssa Milano and Nurse Ratched and Leslie Knope is that they're all pretty. Beautiful women can like convince men to do these asinine, stupid things, and they get away with it.
Have you
noticed?
You just broke Rob's
walking.
I'm sorry, Nurse Ratched.
AOC
Louise
is
Fletcher
literally
is not an
walking-
attractive woman.
Well, I mean, like she was prettier than the other nurses in the movie, though. Like, and she got that whole.
AOC is a walking
there are different
expression
ways
of
of being
erectile
pretty.
dysfunction.
She had that mom vibe of like that.
She's not pretty.
But
Shut up! Oh my God, I don't care!
But well, I mean, this like sympathetic sort of.
Louise Fletcher's
pretty massage.
dead.
Okay?
Louise Fletcher's dead. Let's not pick on her.
So anyway,
let's
we're moving on to Elon Musk. So
Okay.
Elon Musk is going to war with Apple now. So the Apple Store has threatened to remove Twitter from their App Store. They have done this before. They have done this to many products, a lot of apps, businesses, things of that nature. Because, well, let's simply put, Apple doesn't agree with certain politics. They won't have you on their store, which is a big problem. So now that Elon Musk owns Twitter, Apple all of a sudden wants to throw Twitter off of their program exchange. There's been a lot of lawsuits regarding this subject over the last few years with Apple and Google specifically, because if you own a phone, there's a good 50-50 shot that your phone is owned by either Google or Android or Apple. So iOS, if you have Apple, Android is Google. So they pretty much control a lot of stuff that you see on the internet because of that very reason. And now Elon Musk is not only threatening to go to war with Apple, but he's even said he's willing to go as far to create his own phone in order to let levy the power that Apple has. Now, when you talk about mega corporations, I know we toss around Disney a lot when we talk about evil corporations. Disney is a $1 billion evil corporation. When we go as far as talk about like Google and Apple, we're talking about $1 trillion evil corporations here. Like Google, I believe, is like worth maybe like $1 trillion right now, and Apple's probably somewhere worth $2, maybe $3 trillion at the moment. It's because they have a stranglehold on a lot of these markets here. And Elon Musk claims that Apple is threatening to remove him from Twitter because without providing him a reason why. Now, Apple and Google did this with Parler a couple of years ago. If you remember, around the time that Trump got banned from Twitter after the whole January 6th thing, he was going to go on Parler. Parler was an alternative social media platform. And before he could even make it on there, both Apple and Google removed Parler from their app stores, meaning that if you had a phone, you couldn't access the app for either Parler for Parler on either platform, whether it was Android or iOS. So they completely removed your ability to have access to the app that you wanted because they didn't agree with the politics of the person who was on here. And now we're doing the same thing again with Twitter. So they said that suggestions could be a change in moderation policies. This was also a thing with Parler. They basically said that, hey, unless you start censoring people that we don't like who are on your platform, we're going to remove you from our site. You won't be able to host your site on the Apple Store, on Google Play, wherever the case may be. He hit back stating that apparently Apple has a 30% App Store commission fee or a secret tax that they levy on businesses that are on their platform that make more than $1 million a year. So if you make more than $1 million a year on I don't know what kind of social media app or tech app you have on there, you have to pay 30% of that to Apple in order to stay on the Apple platform. And a lot of people said they didn't even know that until Elon Musk exposed that. But yeah, so he's threatening that Apple's going to try to remove them from the top. He says that he's going to look at alternatives. He's even going to look at possibly creating his own phone, something I guess within the sphere of Tesla to corrupt this, because obviously you don't want to lose Twitter's the people's ability to access Twitter on their phones. That's obviously a very, very big business for them as well. But a lot of people have talked about kind of the power that Apple has. Like I said, they're being sued all across the globe for antitrust policies. And when they look at how they did Parler, the way that they kind of control like the news, where they control businesses, I mean, you're dealing with a duopoly here. That's essentially what you're dealing with when you talk about these mega giants like Google and Apple. And Elon Musk may have been able to buy Twitter off the people's noses. You're not going to be able to do the same thing with companies like this. People were saying, oh, he should buy YouTube. Can't buy YouTube. He's not going to be able to buy it from Google because Google will pay him more than will charge him more than he's worth in order to buy that platform. It just ain't going to happen. So he's either going to have to create an alternative platform with his own resources, or like I said, trying to say he might have to play by their rules, which could be the death of Twitter moving forward here. So Rob, I wanted to talk to you about this story. What do you think about Apple's war with Elon Musk, and what is kind of your thoughts on just the control on the industry that Apple and Google have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a clear example of a duopoly, but I mean, I still use I still use Apple. I use a shitload of Apple products. I have an iPhone. I have a MacBook Pro. I had an Apple TV not too long ago. Like, I really like their products. They're probably a really corrupt and evil company, but when we get to the bottom line, but it's like you don't have a whole lot of options at this point. You're either Apple or you're Android at this point. I like Twitter. I like the direction it's going. I think what they're trying to do to Elon Musk is a bunch of fucking bullshit, and it's clear intimidation. It's as transparent as anything. It's like, we don't like the direction you're taking this, so we're going to penalize you. And it's like, Elon Musk has every right to fire back and basically say, hey, look, if you make more than X amount of money, they charge you. This is not a transparent company. This is not a company that supports creativity or ingenuity in technology in terms of apps. So I think he has every right to do it. I'm dependent on the new Twitter working because I really want my old account back. Because it just is a really big pain in the ass to get 2,000 followers. But in all reality, it was just like, I have a lot of stuff on that handle. I really like. I still laugh at. It's just at this point, it's a pain in the ass to scroll back through my permanently suspended account. But at the end of the day, it's like none of that really matters. I just hope that Twitter can kind of keep going towards this more transparent outlook as a platform.
By the way, I do want to point this story out because Neil brought it up. Fortnite made an ad about Apple being like Big Brother from 1984 because we were talking about the 30% rule. Apparently, Epic, which I guess is the owner or runner of Fortnite, tried to bypass that 30% rule so they didn't have to pay Apple to be on the store. And as a result, Apple removed Fortnite from the Apple Store. I'm not sure if they're on there now or not because I know this was still going on like a year ago or so. But Apple actually removed Fortnite, which at the time was like the biggest game in the world, from their app store because they didn't get the 30% from Fortnite to be on their app store, and that led to a lawsuit as well. So people have been trying to go to war with Apple for a while, but like I said, you're talking about a $2-3 trillion multinational global corporation here. So
well, there's a few things that
Elon Musk has it
here. One, because of the China protests, Apple has a shortage right now. So karma is a little bit of a bitch on Apple's part. Two, Apple has always been straight up with storing people's data in the cloud. You should be reading your TOS. South Park made an episode about why you should read your TOS. So Elon said he did a poll seeing if people wanted Elon to go after Apple in terms of getting the the fuckery Apple has done in terms of censorship. They said yes, and it's like, dude, you're trying to get into the cloud, their main cloud info, and you're probably going to find a whole bunch of fuckery in terms of people's sensitive information on what they've been storing for probably at least a couple of decades now. So good luck with that. But
we'll see.
Apple's always been like this in terms of treating companies that use their app store like shit. They've always been like that. I've never had an Apple product and I never will. I'm sad that Windows Phone is not working out because I had a Windows Phone, which was awesome, and Windows apps are still on obviously Windows PC, and they're a lot easier to use. So maybe Microsoft will make a comeback at this point. And also, Elon, please, for the love of God, if you do make a phone, put it under the Boring Company name and call it the Boring Phone, please. Don't make it the Tesla phone. Just make it the boring phone. Like you have the boring the boring flamethrower. Please, that would be
waiting
just
for
amazing.
Linux. Microsoft is not the answer. Anybody that's a hardcore PC gamer knows that. Microsoft's one huge fuck up after another. Waiting for Linux to be a normalized thing and usable to the general public, which is becoming more of a thing. But I will say this, in regards to Epic Game Store, they made an agreement with Apple, and they essentially tried to pull a fast one. And that's completely different from this situation. What Apple is trying to get Elon Musk to do is an abuse of power. They have an expectation that's unobtainable, because in the grand scheme of things, you can't obtain complete, total, removal of misinformation and all that shit, and complete monitoring of the entirety of Twitter. That's not possible. The thing is, they just don't like Elon Musk. They don't like where Elon Musk is taking Twitter, so they're putting this impossible thing that Elon Musk can never meet in the path to being able to stay on the Apple platform. So honestly, they're just doing this as an overreach of power. I don't know how Elon Musk can fight back against this in a realistic manner. I mean, if they do take Twitter off the App Store, I mean, can he sue for basically loss of revenue and shit like that? I don't really know how far he could take it, but unfortunately, this is what happens. This is what happens when you have two companies that can control what can be on your phone and what can't.
Yep. Because that's the thing, though. Because
I forgot to mention, because you guys mentioned YouTube, what Elon should do is, and he said that he was going to monetize content, is get the live stream on Twitter, improve that function, and make it easier for people to make videos and live streams on Twitter. Once he does that, then people will start using it, and YouTube will go down. Easily.
Well, here's something that a lot of people are forgetting, because now Musk owns Twitter. People thought that Musk was not going to succeed in buying Twitter. And when it comes to going up against Apple, yes, they're a Titan-like company, but it's like, dude, this dude freaking pulled a literal Palpatine, manipulated events on both sides of the freaking argument, and got a hold of Twitter. Your freaking argument's invalid. If he wants to, he's never going to buy Apple. But if he wants to, he can easily make that phone. He can easily set it up, and people will flock to it. He can, or because people are now seeing, he's exposing, he's doing what Trump did in 2020 or 2016. He's literally ripping the masks off of all these companies that are putting on the pretty faces, and it's like, look at the ugliness of these companies. They don't like the fact that you are able to say what you want with and have civil discourse. So they are going to punish you. They are going after not just me, but you, because they don't want you to be able to have all the information at your feet.
Yeah,
it won't.
I was going to mention that too. That because if Apple does take it off their app store, then Google will literally do the same and take it off of theirs as well. Because the one thing that they would both have to agree to do it, which is obviously the problem, but they're not going to allow. They're not going to take it off of their app store and let Google be in competition and take advantage of them. So the only way they would agree to do it is that Google will do it as well.
He'll sue both. It's called tortious interference.
Yep. I mean, I don't disagree there. And then, so I mean, I don't know. Like, this has been a big problem of mine for like a while. Even like a few years ago, I was looking into. It's like, can I get like a decent phone that that isn't controlled by Android or iOS? I mean, you would have to essentially like go to like a special carrier and get like a phone that's either like de-Googleized. Like I know there's a lot of de-Googled Android phones out there where you can make it to where they don't have like any access to like your private information. I know there's like Linux phones that exist that are more private, but most people aren't going to go that extra mile just to have a little bit more privacy on their phone, so they're just going to stick with like the big two. Well, as long as they keep doing that, you're going to have issues like this, unfortunately. So as far as I can say, it's like, going to war with Twitter is one thing. Going to war with Apple's a completely different beast. So best of luck to Elon Musk, because he's definitely going to need it, because this is not going to be as easy as the first go around. So any last thoughts on this one before we go on to our next story?
Well, I mean, Gab had a similar issue a few years ago. Like they were kicked off the Android and the App Store and stuff. And I think love him or hate him, Andrew Torba's done a really good job building his own platform over at Gab, and they've added a lot of privacy security features. Account and swipe it all clean, and they don't keep records or anything like that for like like long, I guess, or something. I don't know, but it's been done before. You can live without Apple or Android. It's just hard because they are the majority right now. So.
Yeah. I wish I had the name of that YouTube channel. I'll probably have to link it up before we end this show here. But we're going to jump over to our next story. This is one that Johnson's really going to love, because it's about another Disney movie that failed over the weekend. So did you guys...
One that's been a success lately? I'm sorry.
It seems like a lot of them are failing, or at least falling short of expectations, right? So here we have another one. It's called Strange World. Now, here's what I think happened, because a lot of people are talking about how this film bombed, how it wasn't marketed well, and a lot of other things. Here's what I think happened. They obviously went all in with the LGBTQ push with Lightyear, right? And they probably thought that they were safe by doing it with Lightyear, because it's a Toy Story movie. It's in the Toy Story franchise. They thought that people were still going to go send their kids to go watch this movie, and that they have to explain to them how a lesbian couple just had a kid with no man in the picture whatsoever, and that'd be a great compensation to have for your kids. I don't think they realized that film backfired on them the way that it did, because that's a film where they had to have been expecting at least $1 billion from that movie, and then it turns out it only made 200 million, which is a massive loss for Disney as a whole. So then you had the backlash from with them siding against Ron DeSantis on the Florida bill, the parental rights bill, and all that good stuff. So here you have another movie aimed at kids, and we talked about this earlier. There's a pattern. There's another movie aimed at kids that was supposed to feature, I guess, like a gay teenage, like I think he's black in the film, if I'm not mistaken. Biracial. Oh yeah. I think we had an argument about that too. But biracial kid in the film. It was supposed to be presented about him and his family. So it was another LGBTQ kids movie. And this one really didn't get any marketing whatsoever. I'm not shocked that it bombed, but at the same time, it was like, when was any of the commercials about it? I think after they realized what a massive bomb Lightyear was, they were like, look, we know we're gonna lose money on this. We only spent $180 million on the production. Let's just not market this and just eat the loss on the production instead of trying to sink in another $250 million just to promote this movie that's not going to do anything. And well, this movie didn't quite do anything. This is Strange World for Disney, a massive financial flop. Only did $18.6 million on its opening weekend. And keep in mind, this one was actually out a couple of days earlier because of the holiday weekend. So all combined, I think it still did like less than 30, which is still terrible for this film. And no one watched it. So Walt Disney Animation Studios bombed at the box office this weekend. I think they were tracking somewhere between like 20 to 30 for its opening, which even still then, that's like considering your budget, and that's probably another conversation you're gonna have to have. You're gonna have to start toning down these budgets. You can't keep putting out $200 million films and expecting a massive return on your investment anymore. It's just not gonna happen here. The film had a production budget of between 135 to 180. I'm probably sure it's probably more on the 180 side. It didn't spend as much as Lightyear, obviously, because Lightyear was a bigger property, but I think it has probably more on the 180 side given Disney's current budgets. So this film had to make somewhere between 330 to 450 to break even right now. I just wanted to see what the updated total was on Box Office Mojo. Let me just check that for a second, because I think they may have just broken 30 if I'm not mistaken here. 28.7, so they're close to 30, but they're not quite there yet. So they got a long way to go before they ever see a profit here. And it's being suggested right now that this film might end up losing somewhere between 100 to 150 million dollars. Now, I do have this story here which follows up with it, because as you all know, Bob Chapek got bounced in we all know Bob Chapek got bounced recently with the story of being CEO of Disney. Bob Iger is back in charge now. So now people are asking, well, does this mean that Disney's going to get less woke or more woke? Well, he pretty much put out a statement saying that the direction that they were going creatively with a lot of their projects, especially the projects that were aimed towards kids, that, hey, we're going to keep doing this. We're not going to make everyone happy. We know we're not going to make everyone happy. We're not going to try to, but, you know, they view these films as, you know, hey, we're shaping the world. Or we're shaping the world for what's to come. So we have to keep doubling down on this narrative, even though a lot of people do not like it whatsoever. But we got people behind the scenes that are clearly supporting the agenda. I think he said this company has been telling stories for hundreds of years. Those stories have been meaningful, have a positive impact on the world. And one of the reasons that they had a meaningful positive impact is that the core value is inclusion, acceptance, and tolerance. We can't lose that. We just can't lose that. So if you guys think that Disney's turning a new leaf, don't hold your breath. But what do you think about the latest $150 million loss for Disney? What seems like it'd be a series of massive box office disappointments. I'll start with you, Johnson. What did you think here?
Part of me's like, good, because I write books and I'm getting into comics, and I want enough money from my own animation studio at this point where I can just do a better job. So $40 million, please. But this is, so like, I have kids. I grew up on Disney. I grew up during the Renaissance. So, but I mean, like, a lot of the fairy tales that they're famous for are fairy tales that have universal appeal. This is not something that has universal appeal. You know,
I mean, if your definition of universal is progressive, then it definitely has an appeal, right?
Well, the whole, like we talked earlier about, like at some point you can be open-minded and that's good, but you can also be open-minded to the point where your mind is just not even able to close, so you're mindless. It like drips out
Yeah.
your ears, and this is kind of where it's going. That's pretty much the end game of nihilism and postmodernism, is that you can rationalize anything. And if you don't have any morals or any starting points or firm foundation where you can start at, like even with like Cassie's libertarianism, it's this idea that you have certain rights until it starts affecting other people. That's a good line, you know. That's a good line to start at. It's not the best, but we can have that discussion later, you know. And with these movies, if you want feel on some level, you're just not going to get it. First of all, because this is America, and if at least 10% of the people aren't offended, you're stuck out of luck.
Yeah.
Well, and what Bob Chapek said there, and that's that second article.
Bob
about
Iger said that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right, Bob Chapek's the guy that got fired.
Bob won.
Yeah.
Bob Iger basically said that we're not going to please everybody, and it's like, well, here's the thing. That's true. That's always true with movies. So that's always part of, hey, did you like it or not, kind of thing of going to the movies. The idea is that you're supposed to please the majority of your audience, not a fraction, not a small percentage. And even of those people, it's like, not all, like, how many people went to see this? It was an $18 million Thanksgiving Day weekend box office. So even the gay community didn't support it necessarily. So it's like, you're trying to shove this stuff down people's throat. And it's not selling. It's not digesting. People do not want it. So it's like, I don't know how many times this is going to happen. But Strange World, when I saw the preview for it prior to Lightyear, I thought, oh, that's probably going to make $200 million and be a success for Disney. I had no idea about the gay aspect to it, of the teenager in it. That was only announced, I think, a couple weeks before it released. Now, maybe to people paying attention to it or the production, that was part of it, but I didn't even know about that. So it's like, it was a surprise to me when they announced it. So I don't know. I just think it's bad business at the end of the day to sort of thumb your nose at your audience, and your audience is families. Families don't want to see this. They literally chose not to go in a weekend historically that they do the opposite. You know what I mean? They want to go to the movies, and they didn't.
After my son was born, we went to go see Frozen and it was about the same time. And Frozen, of course, was a big box office smash. And but I think this is kind of similar to Onward, and I know that movie didn't do as good as had Chris Pratt leading it. Like, I don't know anybody who's in this video. Like I said, I don't even know the plot line. I was just like, I just know there's stuff in it that I don't want to have to explain to my children, because my children, and the best thing for my children is that I have a good marriage with my husband.
The only thing I know about it, it has the first authentic gay character in a Disney movie. At least according to the actor, anyway.
Well, there is a lot of firsts with those, so...
It seems like we've been having like the first gay character in a Disney movie for like the last 5 fucking years now. It's like, we're going to get to the second of all of these things.
At some point, the marketing stratagems in this regard will wear off. Their benefits will wear off. And like I said, what else do they have at this point? They don't have a good story. They just have tokenism.
Yeah. Well, you had. Sorry to interrupt. You had with Lightyear. That was kind of a test to see how far the same-sex thing was, and it wasn't even a major part of the plot. You could have just removed it, and it flowed fine. With Strange World, I keep thinking that people want to say that the biracial gay teen love story is somehow the sole reason. No, there were other elements. I saw very few ads and trailers for this, and in the trailers that I saw, it never mentioned anything about the gay teen, or it just made it more like a fantasy adventure with the family going into this strange world.
Yeah.
There was no suggestion that there were a gay teen or a biracial teen, and I'm sorry, the world is not made up of biracial gay teens. it's not a massive market. Although the gay population seems to be growing, is curious thing here, and I'm not, don't take that as anything other than it's just strange that we're having a larger gay population as the years go. Um, it's interesting, and I tweeted this out to, I think, a few of you. The critic that I do like and respect, he was convinced. Oh, look, we're going to have a biracial gay teen, and even the dog is disabled. And oh yes, Ben Shapiro is going to have a fit. It's going to drive him crazy. Then when the box office came in, well, a lot of people are blaming the lack of publicity, but we really don't know as to why this movie bombed. And I think Scott Mendelson also got uh, trashed for going to a long reasons into why the movie didn't bomb. And I think somebody has
I
tweeted it's
actually
like a "don't say gay." I don't think that's a reason. I don't think it's the reason. I think it's maybe a reason. Probably some parents said, "You know what? I just want to take my kids to see a movie and just entertain them for an hour and a half. I don't need to go into all of this. I don't need to go into all these other Disney properties that just seem obsessed with the gay population. Bless them. I don't care what they do, but it's just an endless barrage of it. We had it in Black Panther. We had it in Doctor Strange. We had it in Eternals. We had it in Lightyear. We have it in Strange Worlds. Um, the, the, if people, this is why people would rather go see something like Minions: Rise of Gru, because there wasn't anything that you could even think about that had anything related to where the world was. It just stuck in its own little world, and it was just frothy and silly and fun. And you had the minions doing the silliness that would attract 6-year-olds. Um, the biracial gay teen, I don't think that's even going to attract biracial gay teens, and maybe one or two. It's like, oh, finally, I get to see myself in a Disney movie, but that's not going to make that's not going to make this into a big hit.
Yeah.
And again, I haven't seen the movie. I can't say whether it's good or bad, but it's not an established property. It doesn't come from a original. I mean, it doesn't come from a story that's well known. You get characters that you don't know, you don't care about, and then I think probably some parents did think, oh, this is a bait and switch. You're selling me one story about a family adventure, and like, oh well, we're going to focus on the biracial gay teen, and I keep saying that because they're the ones who focus on it. I don't really care, but if you
well,
take your kids, they're not gonna.
I will say, like, I'm not gonna take my kids to see this. I haven't taken them. Took them to see Sonic 2, and that was the only movie that they're going to hear.
Yeah,
um,
those are Sonic 2 and Minions. Rise of Gru are the only animated films to actually hits. A lot of the other ones have pretty much bombed. Who expected Lightyear to bomb? I mean, this was part of the overall Toy Story world.
I will say, like, some of
Maybe
the
if
movies,
maybe
like,
if Chris Evans hadn't told people they're going to die off like the dinosaurs the week the movie released, they probably would have did a little better.
I don't know. I like Chris Evans saying stupid stuff, so I have more reasons to avoid his movies. The only thing I've ever approved of him doing is when he sent the Captain American shield to that little boy who defended his sister from attack. I thought that was nice, and I'm willing to say that was a good thing to do. Good
You
job,
mean
Chris Evans. You've got 1 point out of.
you mean the
nice
star
thing
of Not Another Teen Movie? I mean,
I
come
can't believe you
on.
didn't get excited when he would say "Flame on" as
What
Human
what what
Torch.
what was the other one
Yeah.
he did with Scarlett Johansson?
The Perfect Score,
Yes, that one. God,
which I
that
saw
was
3 times in a theater when I was 15, and don't judge me. You are
Which
smart.
one?
It's okay.
too
Which
late.
one?
Too late.
I don't know. Which movie did you say?
It's
The
called
Perfect Score.
It's when like
Oh,
a
I-
bunch of teens like
Oh,
want
they-
to steal the answers to the SAT, which is a stupid fucking plot. Sorry.
I never
We're
heard
going
of
to
it.
college at that point, people.
I mean,
If only you knew. If only you knew that 20 years later, those two would lead the biggest superhero hero movie of all time.
I will say, but like speaking to the marketing point, like, okay, so like because I'm an author and I have my own media empire and stuff, I know this stuff and I know how to do the marketing. And the marketing is very, like, with the Disney's resources, there's no excuse that people have for doing this marketing stuff. You can target Facebook ads down to the town, down to political demographic. I mean, like they've kind of like pushed back a little bit on that and stuff because of complaints. But like you can still go after areas specifically that have more of like the people that they imagine their audience to be. So like a lot more probably urban areas, probably a lot more non-traditional families and stuff like that. But like the thing with it too is that like if you guys remember that show Arthur on
Yeah.
PBS, yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, long before Mr. Ratburn became gay.
Oh boy.
They had they had an episode spin-off of like a Buster's Travels or something through that. And they have an episode where Buster meets a student who has two moms. And this is back in like the early 20 aughts, you know, and stuff. And they specifically only aired that episode in more traditional left-leaning towns. And I mean, like they were able to do this by radio station, region, and demographics and everything. Today, they have no excuse to say, "Oh, the marketing just, you know, we just didn't have the money for it," because that's absolutely false. That is absolutely false. They didn't want to promote it, is my guess, because they knew that the story's not great. They've probably spent a lot of money on the arts because I've seen the art; it looks nice, and I know that they've had a really hard time with their VFX people after Thor. You know, as they probably were trying to make amends, reparations. You know, so I just that is a probably it's a very white lie. So you know, coached in something with deeper intentions in this. And I just like I said, this is not a universal story. This does not have universal appeal, and it's nothing against gay people or biracial people or even teenagers. You know, it's just that, you know, children come from, and
Yeah, you,
that's
you cut
why-
out there on your second your mics.
Oh, really?
You said
It's
children
always-
come from, and then it just like you muted yourself.
Oh, okay.
Because
Well,
we don't know where
come
children
from
come
mommies and
from.
daddies, and like when people talk about like equality with homosexuality and heterosexuality, it's like you can't have that equality because you don't have children without heterosexual relationships. So there is always going to be some step down that people are not going to like, and I'll probably get tarred and feather for saying that.
Yeah,
Well, we
especially
can't afford tar, not with this inflation. So
But it's a
You-
biological
you-
reality, what you just said. You know
no,
what I mean?
you will, especially now. You will get tarred and feathered now that we have the Respect for Marriage Act about to become law,
yeah, good luck with that one.
and it's
for
approved by
reminding
people
me.
like Guy Benson, who is very conservative.
I mean, I think that another, you know, perspective when it comes to this movie, it shows that Disney has lost its edge. This movie, I'm looking at pictures of it. It really isn't appealing to me. None of these characters, I don't want to get to know any of them. I don't care about them. Everything about this just looks very mundane. It looks like it should be a TV show at best. I don't really see Disney, if they can't step it up, if they can't bring us the level of quality that they had in the 90s with like an Aladdin, with Lion King, I don't see them succeeding. So you're going to have to really honestly make some adjustments, put things first
That's
that
the
actually
argument.
need to come first, which means making good film, making getting the proper talent that's needed to make successful film, and stop worrying about having biracial characters that nobody's gonna like anyway, or gay characters that nobody seems to care about anyway. Like, stop with all this bullshit, okay? Nobody really, in the grand scheme of things, kids don't care about that shit. They don't. They don't see race. They don't see color. They aren't taught these things inherently, but Disney wants to teach it to them. Just concentrate on making good stories that are heartfelt, that a parent can watch with their child, and the parent isn't like shocked at the ridiculousness of it, and maybe even the parent gets something out of it. No, sometimes me, who's 29 years old, still watches The Lion King with my parents, and guess what? We all have a great time, and everyone gets something out of it, even all of these years later. And most movies that come out nowadays that are for children, you can't get that. Most of it makes the average adult's brain go numb at best, or it's absolutely disgusting things that they want to show to children that Disney has no business stepping that line to making good film that's respectful of both the parent and the child's time.
Yeah, and I agree. The audience awareness is a big thing too. The family company, it's a company that was built around the idea of kind of entertaining the childlike wonder in us all. And there's no childlike wonder to be had when you're thinking about, you know, who's doing what to who.
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean, we have to ask: is the gay teen love story a major part of the plot, or is it just there to say, "Oh, we've got a gay teen"? Isn't this
you would have to
romantic?
watch the movie to know that, and clearly no one watched the movie, so we don't have the answer.
Well, I mean, again, and I keep arguing that's the wrong. I mean, that's the wrong kind of representation. You have these characters, and it's really almost irrelevant to the plot. Like when America Chavez had her gay moms, that wasn't relevant to the plot of her story in Doctor Strange. When you have the Dora Milaje now become lesbians, that's not relevant to the story of Black Panther. When you had when
The
you
girl
had
from Lightyear.
the girl from Lightyear, and actually, if you want to be specific, I think the granddaughter, I think she was biracial. So because I think
Yeah.
so I think this character in Strange World is not technically well, he's a teenager, so I guess maybe that's why. But if this is just put in there to say, oh, we have a gay character, we're meeting that target of 50% of all characters in films be gay, you just wonder why. I mean, it's not part of the plot. This is different from even something like Bros or the upcoming spoiler alert, where the gay aspect is the driving uh, part of the plot. These are not. I mean, the fact that, oh well, we have this biracial gay teen, and apparently the big thing is that, oh, his dad is teasing him, all his friends and his dad are teasing him about the interest to another boy. And I haven't seen the movie. I don't know if this other boy returns the affection. I don't know if it's the reason for it. And I think within Paranorman have like end with some sort of gay kid moment. Again, I haven't seen that one, but there was another one
Yes,
that,
it
that had,
did.
see
It
I've
ended with the gay moment.
see so again, this is why it just seems strange to me that we're going so hard on representing what 6% of the population in film and on television and in, I guess, book series, when it's such a small segment of the population.
Well,
You just
it wouldn't sound strange to you if you were here for our first segment of the night. So,
Well, and here's the thing that doesn't make any sense because I've been arguing this point for almost a decade, almost like going back to 2015. I've been arguing against representation because it's like, and people will throw back at me, you've had 70 years of white men and seeing yourself. And it's like, do you think I see myself in every white protagonist on screen? It's like, no, it has everything to do with their character and what they're
Yeah.
made of and what drives them and what motivates them, what they're scared of, what all of that stuff is. It take, and it's so it's like for people to look at this as like, oh, you've had white people on screen to relate with, of course you don't understand. It's like, no, I'm saying if that's what stops you, if you see somebody with a different that doesn't have the same skin color as you and you say I can't relate to them, you're a fucking idiot. Okay?
no,
an
you're not an idiot. You're a narcissist. If you're the type of person who can't identify with anything on television because it doesn't look exactly like you, you are a narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
well,
only a
that's
narcissist,
right
you're
though.
a
It's like,
fucking bigot.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, sexuality is such a small part of a person's makeup anyway. I mean, like, it's a very intensely personal one, yes, and it should be something to handle with dignity. But I don't think tokenism is the answer.
Well, I mean, it's interesting the comment that popped up about Bros, one of our great favorites around here,
Yeah.
and it's interesting that we've had an idea that, oh, men should be seen on screen more vulnerable and more in touch with their feelings, but as soon as you have two straight males try to have a deep relationship in a film or in television, you automatically start pushing audiences to assume that they're gay or they're in love with each other or have a sexual relationship. You can't, for my mind, you can't have it both ways. You can't have characters, male characters, say, "Oh, we need to have more male characters have deep relationships, emotional ones that go beyond talking about sports." But then, as soon as you have that, oh well, they're obviously gay and they obviously want to have sex with each other. Not
But
necessarily the
but
case.
that's a weird criticism or point of view to have, because like movies, cinema does that naturally. Like well-made movies do that naturally. Like the movie HUD, like it explores like the relationships between men in a way that's like, it's not homosexual. And it just examines like what one character is suffering with and what one is trying to communicate to the other. So I think if people would honestly examine movies that go back 60, 70 years, you would see that happen anyway. There's plenty of examples throughout cinematic history of men being vulnerable or having a pain that they finally get to throughout the movie. So I see that every weekend. I put on a series of movies.
Well, I can tell you that this might sound strange, but Casablanca is one of my favorite movies. And they through the modern lens, you've got people insisting that Captain Renault is madly in love with Rick, and they got to ship them. And I mean, we were
Don't even
talking
get me
about
started on the gay academia of cinema. Like everybody's gay apparently. It's just like I can't past a certain point. So
Well, like I said, if you're wondering why everything you're watching on television now has to have a gay character, look at the person who's in charge of a lot of these projects, whether it's the executive producer of the studios, executive producer of the projects, and also look at the woman who's behind GLAAD, who is the one organizing a lot of these mandates behind the scenes with these studios, and then you realize, oh yeah, they're really the reasons why all this stuff is happening now. And as we heard from Disney, they're only plan on doubling down on it in the future. So
they don't even realize that that gay representation has been in film for over 100 years.
But no, they don't care now. They want more of it now. So if you're Sarah Kate Ellis in GLAAD, then it's like, no, 50% of all movies on television now have to have gay characters.
Yeah, we've had gay characters at least since the 1959 Ben-Hur, if not earlier, because obviously Ben-Hur and Masala were getting it on, and I mean that's what Gore Vidal was pushing, and we never take anything Gore Vidal says at face value.
The gay community said Wizard of Oz is like the gayest movie ever, and that was like back in the 30s, like 40s, and that was the 40s, right, for Wizard of Oz?
39.
The first
39.
movie that had any sort of same-sex relationship was done in 1916. It's called Vingarn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is why I said to Rick the other day, like we've had gay characters since pre-code, the pre-production code era, like. So it's been around for a long time.
Different from the others. With Conrad Veidt, I think, is another one. I mean, again, this is not bashing gay people. I mean, I have gay friends. I have gay family. I wish them well, and they wish me well. It's the idea that we need to have 50%. We need to have a large representation in film and on television, as opposed to the population. The gay population is always going, well, until recently, it was always going to be small, 6% of the overall. I think that was what the census said, that 6% identified as LGBTQ. Although it's interesting now that millennials and Zoomers, I think they have 20% of Zoomers are identify as LGBTQ, as opposed to like a Gen Xer like me, which is like maybe at 4%.
Yeah.
So one of two things real quick. I think Bill Maher said either more people are open about it, or for some reason they're growing in population.
Well, I mean, why? But the thing is, why wouldn't you want to identify as that when clearly it's an extremely protected class? Like on YouTube, they ask for your demographics. I put all the most like protected class things in the book. So it's like, if you ask me, you're axing like a fucking lesbian, trans, non-binary person. And it's like,
disabled. You got disabled.
Yeah, all of that. But it's like, why wouldn't you do that for self-protection with the way the world is right now? But the thing is, it just falls into extreme narcissism. These people are so pointless but they want to make themselves feel as though they're important. That's why they push all these mandates. That's why they push all this bullshit on us. They want to feel like they actually are an important part of human history. Meanwhile, they are creating and propagating the most pointless time in entertainment history, period.
And the sad thing is, I mean, this lost 150, and it's probably going to lose more. This was a big turkey, no pun intended for Thanksgiving. This was a big turkey for Disney, and they're going to keep making more of these so that they could keep winning points with people who didn't even go see it. The same people who didn't rush out to see Bros are you going to go and take their kids or their nieces and nephews, what have you, to go see a movie that not even they had any interest in? I don't understand the logic. It's not quite we need to burn the village in order to save it, but it's close to it. You're wrecking your company so that you could virtue signal to people who are not responding to you, who want more. You give them you give them the representation and they don't go see it, and you
Well,
alienate people.
let's be clear too. Like me saying that Sarah Kate Ellis is the reason why all your movies now have gay characters in them is not me bashing the head of like every single LGBTQ person on earth. It's like I'm very specifically saying that no, this woman right here is the reason why all your movies suck. It's not a condemnation on the entire community.
Listen.
Just as one person.
I honestly think it's like you can have a good story. You can write a good story about this kind of stuff, but you have terrible writers. I mean, like people who understand human nature are going to be better writers than people who don't. And I honestly don't think the Zoomers are old enough to have experience where they can understand how humanity works.
Well, the problem is also when you have all these bullshit stipulations before you even get to the writer's room. I mean, like, it's like you must meet all these diversity quotas. You have to make it a story that the leftists appeal that appeals to leftists. You have to.
We need our Twitter.
You have to. You look at this whole list of things that your work must include. How can any writer make something genuine, make something that they're passionate about, when you have a bunch of assholes in suits telling you that you have to meet all these bullshit quotas?
Yes, there is that too. That's just part of it. That's the studio side of it, where you have a lot of people that's like, oh, we need to appeal to this group over here, so put something in here, and it's like you can't make a good story like that. So.
Well, one of the best things about Elon Musk getting Twitter is, remember, he said he's getting rid of all the bots that have been really fucking up Twitter and like the public opinion on things. The true opinions of the people are going to be coming out now, and maybe Disney's perspective could change because of that.
People put a lot of stock in Twitter that it's just not worth it.
Exactly. The lesson, will Disney learn the lesson and stop being so adamant? Apparently not. They will not learn the lesson. They will keep losing money, and their investors are going to see the stock go down, but at least they'll feel good about themselves.
Yeah, well, not only that though, but what I'm hearing too is that Disney might have fallen in front to some cash flow problems due to some recent investments that may or may not have anything to do with a giant crypto scam that the mainstream media has still. Has he still been charged yet? Does anyone know if this guy's been brought up on any charges whatsoever regarding that whole thing?
FTX thing.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right, but look, we do have to move on to our final topic here. So let's go ahead and close this out with one of the greatest actors of our generation. Or I don't know if Rick has like an old timey person that he wants to like compare to this one, but let's talk about Will Smith.
Oh yeah, his generation, Sidney Poitier, I guess would be the closest one.
Going there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it was either that or Richard Pryor.
No,
Right?
don't do
not
dirty
Richard Pryor.
like that. Come on, man.
No, not Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was very, he was, shall we say, a little blue. So, but Will Smith built his whole career on being the nice guy.
Right, that makes sense.
Well,
Honestly, the comedian aspect.
Let's jump over to this story, because if you guys forgot what happened with Will Smith earlier this year during the Academy Awards, he got up during the middle of a presentation and decided to smack the shit out of Chris Rock because he made a mild joke about his wife Jada Pinkett Smith, who is known as confirmed to have slept around in their open marriage that he's clearly very, very happy about. So in the course of this, I think they banned him from like 10 years from attending like the ceremonies and whatnot. This was kind of their way of giving him a slap of the wrist without giving him a slap of the wrist, because I mean he already got his Oscar, so it's like he already got the prize. It doesn't really matter if he comes back or not. But if you guys didn't know, Will Smith has a slave movie coming out later this year called Emancipation, and there's talks that he can go back to back in the Oscar season this year, so he's gonna win a second Oscar.
No,
but he's not allowed to go to the
Wait.
He can't. He's
Well, he can
absolutely
send Jay
banned
as
from the
slave.
Academy.
No,
Wait a second. I know he's banned from the
He can't win an award.
No, he can.
He can't attend.
No,
He can't-
no. He can. He's banned from being there, but he is perfect. He still qualifies to be nominated.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah, I know he was.
I mean, that makes sense.
I was told he was not allowed to even be nominated.
Yeah, I know he was banned from like attending any of like the events or being associated with the Academy, but I didn't hear anything about he can't win an award. He just can't attend. So
Interesting.
we'll have somebody look into that, but I'm pretty sure that was the rule here. So now Will Smith, the award season's coming up, his movie's coming up, so it's like, hey, apology tour time. Now keep in mind, to this moment, Chris Rock has not spoken with Will Smith, and all signs point to he's refusing to accept his quote-unquote apology for the slap, because the way Chris Rock sees it, it's like, you slapped me over a fucking mild joke about your wife, and I could have said far, far worse about it. So yeah, I don't accept your BS apology, and I'm not talking to you. So because Will Smith can't get an apology from Chris Rock, he knows there's still people out there who are upset with him because he slapped him like a bitch. So he went on The Daily Show, I think it was his last night, and talked about the whole incident. So he's going up there being somber, Will Smith, and this article here says that, after a series of online statements and public appearances over the last few months, Will Smith took further steps to get back into the limelight with The Daily Show's Trevor Noah, who should be leaving by now. Hopefully he leaves a little faster because we don't need him. But he's promoting his new historical drama, Emancipation, which is another fucking slave movie, which is probably going to get nominated for like 13 awards, because that's what all the slave movies do when it comes to the Academy Awards. So he says, Will Smith says, I've been away. Shocker, drawing a laugh from the crowd. He says, what have you been doing? He talks about, obviously, the night. He says that it was a horrific night, as you can imagine. There are many nuances and complexities to it. Not really. You just slapped the shit out of the guy because he told a joke about your wife. That's pretty much what it comes down to. He says, by the end of the day, I just lost it. He says, I was going through something that night, like your unfaithful wife, maybe that's what you were going through, and not justifies my behavior at all. It was a lot of things. It was just a little boy who watched his father beat up his mother. What the hell does that have to do with the joke that they was told? What are you doing here, guy? All of that just bubbled up inside me at that one moment. That's not who I want to be. He said, Noah interjected, offering his own perspective into the situation. He says, I love Chris. I'm friends with him. I love you, but this is fucked up. He says, I know that as black people get together and go, what was Will doing? What the hell happened? A lot of black people are like, he should go to jail. It's like, you need to relax yourself, Noah said, earning a laugh from Smith. It's like some people were overreacting, which made some people underreact. It said Will then shared like an anecdotal story about his rage. He says, I was gone. That was a rage that had been bottled in for a really long time. Maybe that's something you should talk about with your wife. My nephew is 9. He's the sweetest little boy. We came into our home. He stayed up late at night to see his Uncle Will, and we're sitting into the kitchen. He's on my lap holding the Oscar, just like, why did you hit that man, Uncle Will? Is he really doing like the Twitter, like, well, my 9-year-old had a conversation about politics that never happened. It's like, are you really doing this right now? Well, why are you trying to Oprah me? He said. So he goes on and talk about like his fucking movie. Like who cares? It's another slave movie that we're gonna have to be like, hey, slavery was bad. It's like, oh really? We haven't figured that out after 250 years that slavery was bad. I'm glad you made this movie. What do you think about Will Smith? Should he be forgiven? Are you gonna go see this movie? What is kind of your thoughts on this whole situation? I'll let Rick go because Rick and Rob, you guys are the movie people, so this is your wheelhouse.
All right. Well, first,
What am I, chopped liver?
Yes.
Well,
yes,
yeah.
you are. Yes, you are.
Well, maybe if you go on the show on Mondays, I can actually throw you in there. So,
Well, I will say that first, it brings back. I don't know if this is a joke, but something about how every black actor eventually will have to play a slave in his or her career. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but it just seems to be a routine there. As for Will Smith, all right. First off, the night that he felt so torn up and he had to, tearfully, explain to his nephew what he did. There are scenes. There's video of him dancing happily with his Oscar to his own music. He's out there with his Oscar, going, getting jiggy with it. I mean, he's literally dancing and having a grand old time. And so I don't buy that. I think he should have been arrested. I think he should have been arrested. I think he should have been expelled from the academy instead of just being banned for 10 years. He resigned from the academy rather than face potential expulsion. And worse, I think they should have taken away his Oscar, if only because it was a terrible performance. All right. Nobody talks about how bad his performance was. It was very mannered, actory. It was close to Eddie Redmayne in whatever Theory of Everything. It was calculated to get him an Oscar. I hated that performance. That movie, King Richard, I never understood why we needed a biopic on Serena and Venus's father. I don't know. He's that important in the history of tennis. And moreover, I was like, that movie is like, I think, only 11 minutes shorter than Dune. So it was excessively long. You talk about the long movies that we've had this year. Should we forgive him? No, because he's really not contrite. I mean, he's doing. First off, he shouldn't have even gotten up there. He should have just he was laughing at the joke until his wife rolled her eyes, and then I think she kind of egged him on. I remember her statement afterwards, like, "Oh, this is a time for healing." No, I mean, yeah, healing for Chris Rock. He's the one that needs to heal from that assault. He slapped someone because he felt entitled to, and he felt that he could, and he did get away with it. So no, we should not forgive him for that slap. We should not. We should have never have allowed him to remain there. Apparently, he was asked to leave, and he refused, of course, because he knew he was going to win. It was a terrible.
And then here's the big thing here. Josh brings it up. If you go back to the night, he could have apologized when he took that Oscar, like 20 minutes after the slap. He never got on stage and once said that he apologized to Chris Rock for slapping him and didn't denounce his action. He apologized to the Academy for causing a ruckus. He never apologized to Rock when he had the chance up there. And then afterwards, he's going, like you said, he's going to these award parties, dancing it up like nothing happened. And then it was only till he realized the backlash of what he did that he started being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Chris. Can you ever forgive me?" And Chris, to his credit, has been like, "No, go fuck yourself. I'm not forgiving you."
Yeah, the fact that he didn't realize it, that he realized that there was going to be a backlash. You assault someone, you slap someone in front of millions of people, in front of your peers, in front of the people who are going to fet you with this ultimate prize, and you don't realize it. Of course not, because he's become so entitled with a sense of superiority that he thinks that he got away with it. He should have been arrested that very night. He should have been hauled off. Not and if he got the Oscar, he should have received it in jail along with his mugshot. But no, he's apologizing because he knows that he has a movie to sell. The public spent 30 years believing Will Smith was this really nice guy, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and now we saw him as an angry man, as entitled. We saw we saw perhaps a real Will Smith. I know some of my friends will not watch any Will Smith movie. They won't watch even old um, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episodes because of this. Because nobody should watch that Wild Wild West, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, but no, should we forgive him? No, no, he's not shown any real repentance. To be forgiven, you have to seek actual forgiveness and repentance. He has not. All he's
Yeah,
doing
and
is
that's
selling this movie.
That's what I would say as well. Is in the question, should Will Smith be forgiven? You have to first believe he actually is remorseful and is apologetic and feels something other than a performative need to appear apologetic. And that's really what's going on here. And I think Rick really hit the nail on the head. And so I don't think that anything about this is real. I have to go back to I Am Legend, to a Will Smith performance that I don't hate or think is at least good or above average, because it's like it's been that long for Will Smith. He's been box office poison for the last 15 years. I mean, almost 20 years now. So
Wild Wild West.
Personally, I just wish he would make better movies. I wish he would have taken up Django Unchained when he was offered it, and he had such problems with that. There's this very weird situation where him and Jada, had their own reality show where they were kind of like lecturing people on what to do. I remember Alexis Arquette, who used to be Alex Arquette, basically pointed out that Will Smith was found like going down on like his manager, like early on in his career. Like these people, they have some weird twisted like Hollywood relationship where they might both be gay, or Will Smith might be in the closet, or so it's like they have much bigger problems than any kind of like, oh, should Will Smith be forgiven, or is he going to win an Oscar? I mean, these people they live a degenerate kind of lifestyle, and let's not even get started with their kids and the shit they push through their kids, so it's
and the dabbling in Scientology.
Right. And so, Will Smith is just like, you want to talk about a guy that looks like he has major problems, probably lives in the closet and like lets his wife run his life. I might slap a guy too. Like, I'm not saying it was good or okay. If you assault somebody, you should be held to the, what the law says, basically. So I agree with Rick. I mean, I try not to be, I don't want to overreact and say he should be in jail, but it's like he should have been prosecuted. You assault somebody, you should be prosecuted.
I think that's dependent on like if they push charges or not too, though. So, I can see where that would kind of be part of the conversation. Yeah. For what it's worth, I disagree. So, and let me explain why, because it's a nuanced answer, of course. So when you forgive somebody, you don't have to excuse their crime while you do it. I think it's best if we kind of say, we want you to get help. Obviously, this is a big issue and there's a lot of problems there. And I think you're right, the mask did slip and it broke too, and there's a lot there that needs to be unpacked and resolved, like within his own life. And I do agree that Chris Rock, probably in the right not to forgive him for that, because it does sound like a very fake apology. But I think we should forgive. Like, I think it's good to forgive people because you don't want them to have any power over you. And I think that's what the part of forgiveness where I would focus on. I still think you should punish him. I think he's got, it's good that he's doing fulfilling the consequences of his actions. And I do enjoy a good grovel, but it's like, dude, we don't like you anymore, though. It's kind of like when people borrow money from you and they can't pay back. Well, okay, they can't pay back. Okay, but I'm never doing it. I'm never letting you borrow money from me again, and the bank account's zero, but it's not going to be anything in your favor. And if you want it to be, you have to earn it back, and you have to really mean this stuff, and then I have to see real change. Like I said, like you said, Rob, with like repentance, it has to be there. If it's not, it's not, it's not on you to worry about that then.
It's hard when you have somebody like Will Smith, though, who's an actor who literally lies for a living. And it's like these people are not everyday normal people because they're presenting a facade. And and I understand the concept of forgiveness, and I even believe in it. It's just, it's hard to do that when it's like someone who's like, I have to be skeptical of everything that comes out of your mouth. So forgiveness seems like it's down the line a little bit when you're dealing with people who try to manipulate and obfuscate the reality.
I
It's
struggle
like
with
it's
the
like
idea of forgiveness when he's not actually showing any genuine repentance. What it is for me is he wants people to embrace him as they did back in the
Yeah.
90s and the 2000s, but not pay any real consequence.
Yeah, and
And that's what I struggle with, the
yeah.
idea of that this is
Yeah.
genuine.
I
I mean,
think it's forgiving him to the point where you can let like is it like you can let it the power that it holds over you go, because forgiveness is usually about the victim, not necessarily the victimizer.
like to me personally, I don't care. To me, all these people, like, it's one of those things where obviously, if he had nothing to gain from it, would he actually care what any of us think of him? Would he actually seek forgiveness? Probably not. These people are genuinely evil. They're so self-obsessed. They're a bunch of weirdos. They think that they're above us and the law and what's right and what's wrong. So in that sense, I don't really think that he genuinely wants forgiveness or to be seen in a good light. He just wants to be able to make his money. And
I agree. That's part of it. That's a big part
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So,
But like in terms of what he did, I don't care. It doesn't hold any power over me. I wish it happened again. So yeah, let him go back. Honestly, I have not talked about an Oscar, whatever the fuck, in years. The only
Yeah.
time we actually started talking about it is watching these morons get angry at each other, and he just slapped the shit out of Chris Rock. So I mean, if that's the only way to make these fart sniffing contests entertaining for the general public, I say more people there should slap the shit out
I
of
actually
each
think
other.
that's part of the reason he got like such a light sentence is because they were like, oh, good, people will talk about this now again.
Yeah, well,
So sad.
Cassie, you want them to go all mommy dearest on the Oscar stage,
Why not?
like
Yes.
strangle them.
These people
No
are
wire
all
hangers.
degenerates. Like to think that anybody, all these people, these fart sniffing weirdos that sat there and watched this are any better than Will Smith, it is just ignorance. All these people belong in the same bed, slapping the shit out of each other. So, and if I could watch and everyone keeps their clothes on because I don't want to see that part of it, but they end up slapping the shit out of each other all night, I support it.
It's celebrity death match. It was literally celebrity death match
Yeah.
come to life.
Celebrity slap fest, yes.
But the thing, I mean,
yeah.
it wouldn't have, and that's why some people thought that it was staged initially. They did not
I did.
believe.
I didn't think it was real.
No, I actually was getting ready to watch medieval times that night, and I was just following this on Twitter.
I will say this because there were so many people who were coming out saying that, oh, this is a work. It's a work. Like it's fucking pro wrestling, right? And it wasn't the fact that people were saying, oh, this was a work. It was like, are you guys really that delusional that you can't believe that Will Smith's just this emotionally broken man, that he would literally slap another man on television over a joke? I could believe it. It's not that big of a stretch for me. So it's like, I don't know why everyone else thinks, oh, no, this could have possibly really happened. It's like, no.
All right. No, if this were sincere, if this were a genuine seeking of forgiveness and atonement and true reparation for Chris Rock, he would have approached him privately, and then they would have said, "Okay, let's go ahead and present ourselves together and show that you have accepted my apology, and I am atoning for what I'm doing." He chose not to do that. He did not apologize on the Oscar stage. I mean, putting aside the fact that he should not have attacked someone for making a rather mundane, dumb joke at his wife's expense, which he was laughing at until I mean, it's there on video where he was laughing and then she rolled her eyes, and I guess I don't know what happened. That's what I struggle with, the idea that this is for general forgiveness. Why is he waiting now to do this big apology tour? Why? Because he has a movie to sell and because he wants to win another Oscar. And he's not going to, because we've not had repetitive back-to-back Best Actor Oscars since Tom Hanks, and I don't think he should have won, at least Philadelphia, or Forrest Gump. I don't think he should have won for those.
Well, be fortunate. Be fortunate. I'm not making you guys watch the slavery movie. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, well, I was just going to say the last time I saw a slavery movie was 12 Years a Slave, and I ate a 1,000 milligram THC brownie, which is why I do not remember 12 Years a Slave.
I cannot believe. Good. Well, it's the West Coast. It's the West Coast.
I mean, look, like these types of movies can be somewhat touching, and some of them I actually do like. But over time, they've just become the most bland, tasteless. We're gonna instantly get an Oscar nomination just because of the material presented trash, and it sucks. Why don't they actually do something, useful in modern times and make a movie about modern slavery that still happens around the world, sadly?
Well, I mean, you didn't. The same people who loved 12 Years a Slave and saw it as the authentic story. I mean, it is based on a true story. Were the ones who were up in arms about Green Book, because you couldn't have friendship between a black person and a white person. That was just too much. But 12 Years of Slave, which I don't know if somebody called it misery porn. But I mean, it's that and Emancipation. I don't think people are going to see this movie, not just because of they're just exhausted by all of this, all these slave films, but because of Will Smith. It's like when you had after Platoon 1, you had all of these Vietnam War films, and few people actually saw them, let alone remember them.
I'm under the impression that Hollywood only makes slave movies to keep black people angry. That's the only reason why these movies exist.
Pretty much. But what's crazy is like Will Smith's getting Oscars for probably the most garbage point of his career. Like,
yes.
Like it's so has film depreciated this much that now we're rewarding actors that used to be good Oscars for arguably the shittiest points of their career. I mean, like. Angela Bassett's probably going to get an Oscar nomination for Black Panther 2. There's so many more films in her catalog that are so much more meaningful. They're so much more interesting that she was way actually at the top and pinnacle of her career that she was probably not even nominated for.
Well, look, if you guys don't have any other final thoughts on this topic, I do want to play a video here. Do you have something you want to say, Orange?
Yeah. As much as I like some Will Smith movies in the past, I do think that this apology tour is absolutely half genuine and half fake. One, he probably does feel bad for what he did. I mean, the man is broken, so he's more in touch with his feminine side, so he's probably does feel a little bit empathetic toward Smack and Chris. Chris has every right to be pissed off because, one, he was physically assaulted. Two, he was radically embarrassed in front of everybody who are laughing at it. And it's like, dude, he made a joke about his friend who happens to be your wife. If she didn't like it, well, it's not like he's saying, yeah, her, whatever that condition is called, makes her look like G.I. Jane. No, he just said that she's going to be starring in a G.I. Jane sequel or something like that.
Yeah.
He didn't draw attention to her condition. He drew attention to her looks. Now, there is a key difference, and people need to understand that. As for him doing a movie about being a slave, honestly, I haven't, or the last movie that I saw that had any sort of real impact when it came to slavery or during that time was the movie with Matt Broderick and Morgan Freeman.
Glory?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, wow. 1989.
I saw that in school, and it's like, okay, that's pretty powerful, that one. And that's about it. I mean, I feel that the whole slavery thing has been done too much because, look, we already know the U.S. had slavery. We already know what happened in that time. Anything else nowadays, especially when they've already made the point that they want to change certain aspects of history, how they want to show that there were things that happened. It's like, we already fucking know what happened. All the important things have been done. So, Will, if you're just doing it just so that you could possibly get an Oscar, shame on you. But if you're doing it because you actually do feel bad that you physically assaulted somebody because your wife turned you into the biggest pussy that known to man, well, then maybe, yeah, that's a good thing. Because, well, not the fact that he's been turned into a pussy, but the fact that he actually feels bad about hitting somebody.
Yeah.
But I just feel that this is a half and half. It's not one or the other. It's literally probably a mixture of both.
It could be. I mean, I could just mention real quick that Lupita Nyong'o, when she won Best Supporting Actress for 12 Years a Slave, she acknowledged, she said that I know that this moment is built on the misery of others, and so at least she acknowledged it. Will Smith with Emancipation looks like he's just doing it for Oscar bait. Just he's almost profiting off the misery of his ancestors so that he could get another award. There's something slightly there. It sounds slightly perverse that you would try to benefit off the misery of your ancestors to enrich yourself and to portray yourself as somehow still a victim when you are out there slapping people who have not done anything other than make a rather dumb joke about your wife that you found funny. That is what you read. And also, King Richard's not a good movie, and his performance was terrible. I'm throwing that in.
I do want to point this out because there's tons and tons of Holocaust movies, but there's a huge difference. There's so many stories that happen in the Holocaust from different perspectives and all that. But the majority of them are made by independent filmmakers. So maybe that's another reason why they feel a little bit more genuine and don't feel so corporate. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that, like, in terms of Jewish slavery, the last one that I saw, obviously that was big budget, was Prince of Egypt, and that you saw how genuine that was, and it's still talked about today as one of the best animated films ever made. You don't see that with Black slavery. It's just sad.
Well, let's go ahead and play this one video here for our good buddy, Mr. Comedian Andrew Schultz, who, keep in mind, this whole thing started because Chris Rock made a joke about Jada, and it was a pretty tame joke. So if you guys want to hear not so tame jokes about Jada Smith, let's go ahead and play this video here. So,
if you didn't see the Oscars, Chris Rock got himself in a hairy situation. He shined a light on female alopecia, while Jada's head shined a light on everything else. Chris was making fun of Jada's baldy, but seriously, how is Will supposed to get turned on if she has a woman's haircut? Now, I'm not saying that he's gay. Wow. He likes women, specifically ones that swim for Penn.
Holy shit.
All I'm saying is last night wasn't the first time Will fondled another man to make Jada happy.
Okay.
And Will's hand that struck Chris Rock was actually a metaphor for his relationship with Jada. Open when he wanted it to be closed. But let's be honest. Last night, Will Smith looked like he was from the streets of Philadelphia, and Jada looked like she was from the movie. Now, after all that drama, Will Smith still took home an Oscar. I'm talking about the award, not a Mexican guy to fuck his wife while he watched in the corner.
Okay, you gotta chill though.
Now, to clarify, Will won the Oscar for Best Actor. People were saying it was for the Lifetime Achievement Award, and no, that's not it. That Oscar goes to the plumber that unclogged Jada's shower drain. Now, I am tired of people not giving Jada enough credit. Okay, it was actually Jada that helped Will get in character for King Richard. Because when she gives blowjobs, her head looks like a bouncing tennis ball.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
And to everyone saying Will was probably under the influence, no. Okay, he doesn't drink or do drugs. This is the only time he's ever smoked a rock in his life. Now, don't feel bad for Chris Rock, okay? He was finally part of a hit white people will watch. Give Chris Rock some damn credit, okay? He took that smack like a champ. And next year, he's gonna be ready, okay? He'll have more bobs and weaves than Jada's wig collection. Now, a lot of people are saying this never happened during Oscars So White. Exactly, okay? The white Oscars are mind-numbingly boring, or as Jada would call it, a relationship with Will.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, if I'm that, as I was saying, Chris Rock said his joke without raising the alopecia. This dude, he fucking went there.
All in on it.
Habitually.
So yeah, I think that's a good point to kind of wrap up the show right there. I don't think we're gonna top that tonight. So this is the part of the show where you guys can plug anything you guys want to plug, and we're gonna start with the person who started the beanie cult tonight, with Miss C.S. Johnson. How you doing?
Oh,
I said tonight, by the way. I didn't say before.
Okay. I was gonna say I have to give the credit for the beanie stuff to Orange Hat.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I actually have my live stream on my channel. So come and talk with me, so I don't sound like I'm a moron. But it's for my Kickstarter supporter only. I get to chat with all those people, and I'll probably sign a few books, and I try not to look like a moron.
You'll try.
What time?
9 p.m. EST. So, yeah, if you want to guys come on and chat in the chat bar, I'm going to try to bring on all my Kickstarter supporters. So Cassie might be on, right?
I might be drunk. Admit it. I'm not
Good.
Wednesdays are my drinking night.
Yeah. Oh well.
Damn.
I'll try to at least be in the chat though.
Every Wednesday night.
I love how she said it.
Well, at least
I
put
might
the count
be
on for
drunk.
me, at least.
Yeah, might.
All right, then moving over to the head of the beanie cult, Mr. Orange Hat Reviews, the CEO of the beanie
The
cult.
Hat Crew. But yeah, I'm on Chat Reviews. I do entertainment reviews, movie reviews. I'm going to be hopefully doing a live review on Friday night for Violent Night. Really looking forward to that one because I want to see John Leguizamo get his ass thrashed. Also, I do mystery reviews. I'm switching it up well, not really switching it up. I'm basically just matching the theme to the month, which is December. So it's going to be Christmas based, not solely a Christmas movie, but also some of them will be Christmas movies. The first one for the hint for Tuesday morning is going to be Christmas in Outer Space. So definitely tune in for that. I also do guest choice reviews where I bring on a guest tells me a movie that they want to review. They get to pick the time, the date, and the movie, and we discuss it on the stream. Those are always fun. So yeah, that's me. Also, I've been covering some of the stuff that's going on between the insanity that was covered tonight and more insanity to come. Yeah. Thank you.
Meanwhile, somewhere where the Native Americans are attacking the Planned Parenthood is Mr. Rob Motto. Hopefully you can hopefully you can survive the night because apparently you're having some wind problems over there right now.
Wait, are those flames outside your window?
No, it's windy. It's either windy or those are people screaming and banging up against my window. Could be either one. It's Western Washington State. Hi, I'm Rob. I have a Twitter where I talk about movies and a lot of other shit. That's pretty much it. You know, I need to write a review on Blonde if it's going to be my #1 movie this year. So that's going to come out hopefully soon in December, which is a day away. So look forward to that.
Oh yeah, Avatar 2's the best movie.
I saw Avatar like a couple years after it came out, and I have no interest in seeing the sequel, but I have to if I'm gonna review it for the Monday movie.
3.5 hours. It's gonna be fun.
I will join you on that one because my.
Yeah, you cut out there, so no one can hear what you said.
Yeah, and full disclosure, Cassie, if you want to hang out when I'm in Pennsylvania, that's totally fine. I actually like you, and I just tolerate everybody else. But I'm going to grab some food or a drink. That's fine. If you don't, it's cool because I'm socially awkward too. So totally up to you.
Well, let's jump over to your new best friend forever over there, Mr. Cassie.
Cassie's everybody's best friend.
Woo. Yes,
Damn straight.
I'm a friendly chameleon, which is weird because I've never really been very sociable. So I guess that's kind of my secret power. That's even secretive toward me. But you want to hang out, talk to me, see what I got going on. Cult Classic Cage on YouTube and Twitter, and I kind of abandoned my Twitch, but I mean, I always like to keep all my avenues open. So if you want to follow me there as well, you're more than welcome to. And yeah, it's a good talk, and even with some really messed up topics, but it's always good to bring awareness to even things I don't necessarily like talking about. So
Yeah, Spencer asked, "When's the society meetup?" I mean, the only person that can meet up right now is Johnson and TW. And I think the funny part is, I think me and Johnson were supposed to have like lunch like 2 years ago, and just never happened. So we just gotta figure out a way to make that happen sometime soon. All right, let's jump over to our good buddy Nerdigans, who's there somewhere in her hole, doing a whole bunch of research for us. What are you doing? Where can they expect more of you?
You can find me on Nerdigans Inc. On YouTube, which I'm actually getting ready to record a live reaction right after this, because the chapter came out, of course, during the stream, like it always does, because manga never sleeps, and neither do I. So I cover manga and anime, and for banding, I have a lot of anti-censorship articles coming out, and you can also find me on Twitter on at Packer_girl, P9CKER_girl is where I'm at there. And are we doing a stream tomorrow?
No, we will not. I'll let you guys know what we got coming up.
You can come onto my stream if you want.
We'll see. We'll see how busy. Well, Wednesdays it might. Well, it depends if I'm going on bounding stream or not. But we'll see. Let's see what time it starts on your end.
Oh well, I'll be on 9. So
Eastern.
Sorry.
Yeah, Eastern time. Eastern time, I'm pretty sure. But
I love the West Coast for what it's worth, but I am an East Coast girl to the bone. So I love
the West Coast. Period.
It's
I keep telling
it's
yourself
really
that.
not. I live here. It's not.
Well, you are in the shitty part of the West Coast where Antifa is running rampant. It's not running rampant where I'm at because I have a good DA. So.
And then, of course, last but not least, our boomer representation here on the show, Mr.
I broke
Isn't he a
out the
Bridger?
beanie for nothing.
Yep.
No, you didn't. You're part of my crew.
Oh, all right. Oh, speaking of, your mystery movie. Should I say "Hooray for Santa Claus"? Is that? Am I right?
No.
Okay, but that's still one of the great Christmas movies. And I'm also going to say I'm hurt that Rob is not my BFF here.
He's your best friend.
How dare you, Rob?
Yeah,
People are a bunch of strangers, okay? Just remember that.
Well, that's not true. I've met Jacob. Yeah, we've actually hung out once.
Okay, that's cool.
But all right. Well, all right. I guess I'll save my Whataburger for someone else who actually likes me.
We got a Whataburger down in Marietta here, like down in like the metro area now. So come and see me, and I'll buy you one.
Okay,
And but you have to write me some more poetry because I went through the Twitter like rabbit hole. I was like, oh, let me read some of his reviews because I read Jacob's all the time. I'm like, I find your poetry, and I was like, oh, this is amazing.
What poetry did I ever write? Is that the one I did at another site?
I don't know. It's on your
think
blog
so.
spot.
Yes, I did. I did some haikus once. So,
I thought they were pretty good. I used to teach high school English, so.
Thank you. I'll write one about my broken heart now that Rob has dumped me as his bestie. We've suffered through Glass Onion and Bros, and this is how he treats me. What I have coming up, you can find me at Rick's Cafe Texan or Rick's Texan Reviews. I have at long last my no, it's just boo, not boomer. This is for the this is for the acting performance that should have won over Will
TikTok
Smith.
boomer.
Yeah. I'll say that I have upcoming reviews of the first 2 Halloween movies because I finally saw them. and also will probably be working on other reviews, trying to get through the screeners that I get from various sites, so that I could review them for award consideration. And that's yes, and then looking forward to seeing. Oh, great! I'm gonna have to see a Will Smith movie. Thanks, Jacob. Now that I think about it, thanks. I'm gonna have to see that. So
Hey, you'll have to review it for this show because I'm not watching it.
So that that's pretty much it. Just trying to trying to catch up on the reviews that I have, and the screeners that I have, and just trying to. I also will heal from getting dumped by Mr. Motto up in Washington. That's just I don't know if I'll recover, but
yeah.
But Cassie, my heart, you have a special place in my heart too.
Yeah, this is Rob's reaction to your heartbrokenness right now. So I just want to let you
That's his reaction to everything. That's his reaction to everything.
Rob's just trying to protect you, Rick. He doesn't want you to be disappointed in him.
Oh
No,
my god!
totally.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. If you haven't already, go ahead and like the stream. That way we can get it out there to more people so that more people can watch us and we can grow this show. We're at 26. I think we've done a pretty good job for 26 episodes here so far. So thank you all for joining us. Real quick to let you guys know what we got coming up. There's no Retro Way review tomorrow. We're going to say that for next week. Next week, we're going to be going over the old G4 Tech TV era. And that's a few things that I want to be able to show Nerdigans and TW, maybe some of the other guys who may have been fans of G4 Tech TV during that time. So that's going to be next Wednesday night. So got nothing coming up tomorrow, but we do have the Black Pill stream on Bounding in the Comics YouTube. So go subscribe over there if you want to hear our podcast tomorrow night on that channel. Monday night, we're not doing a movie night here on Twitter. We're not doing a movie review on Twitter. We're going to be doing movie night on Twitch, and we're going to be reviewing 1995's Bad Boy. So anyone who wants to come and watch Bad Boy with our good buddy Will Smith, who obviously we all love due to our conversation earlier tonight, and Martin Lawrence, you can go watch that Monday night on Twitch. It's a Twitch exclusive. And then next Tuesday night, we'll be back here for the Barroom Podcast, episode 27. Who knows what stupid things are going to happen between now and next Tuesday before we get there. So, yeah, we got a lot of fun things coming up here. And then I also have a review for The Glass Onion for Bounding in the Comics that should have been up this morning, but it will be up tonight. I'll have it ready to go tonight. So go look out for that one as well. So until then, for everyone who joined us tonight, I know obviously Spencer is always here, Josh is always here, Brahma Bull who joined us a little bit earlier tonight, Neo, Duke Nukem, Trey, Alex and Eagle, a whole bunch of other people who joined us. Trap Queen tried to make it on here. She today, you might have saw her a little bit for the show, but she was having some computer issues, so she couldn't join us. So hopefully we get her back here soon on the podcast. To everyone who joined us tonight, if I forgot your name, then we don't appreciate you any less. Just that we got a lot of people that we had to thank. So to everyone who joined us, thank you. We will see you guys next week. We're gonna hit this outro. It's gonna be Spring Yard. Hopefully this thing doesn't lag or fuck up this time, because we were having some issues with this last night where we literally could not play the outro. So let's keep our fingers crossed and it works this time around. So say goodbye to all the beautiful people here in the chat, especially Orange Hat, and then we're going to go ahead and sign this one off. All right. Goodbye, people. Good night. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.